For the love of Pete. Hey, we're live.
Hey, Converted Man here.
Hey.
Yep.
So what were we talking
We've got Johnny DriveBYE, and we're talking about Johnny fell asleep.
Catapult pancakes.
Catapult pancakes. We're talking about burden of proof, the soul, whether or not this person has a PhD, and my latest debate, and I don't know, whatever else comes to our brains.
Chaos.
Yep.
Hey, sorry, I was trying to find where the chat.
Yeah, can you throw him a link to the thing in the chat, or I don't know how it works.
Forward link.
This is a train wreck. I blame Matt Slick. Okay, all right. Yeah. So this whole thing started with this person called Eve. Last name, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. How would you say that last name?
Kaninen.
Kaninen. Okay, that's good enough. Kaninen. Saying
Chaosism. I gave you a link. I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This was in a comments of a video I did, and we just were like, "This is comedy gold. You just can't make this stuff up." So the burden of proof. This is what she wrote 5 days ago. The burden of proof is on the person making the claim. Period. And this is all in quotes. Is a claim. So you have the burden of proof to prove it. If you use an argument to do so, you'll need at least 2 premises. Note that you'll acquire a burden of proof to prove those premises as soon as you advance them, since they too will be claims. You'll then need to make further arguments to prove your premises, which will require more premises, which will in turn give you further burdens of proof. Begin when you are ready. If you decline to prove your claim about the burden of proof, it will be dismissed if it was offered without evidence. Wow. So she's trying to reductio ad absurdum the burden of proof by turning it into a paradox and an infinite regress. All of that fails.
Yeah.
Now, not to do mind reading 101 here, but let's do a little bit of critical analysis instead. Well, why would somebody say something like this? Maybe because they don't have any proof for what their idea is, and so they don't like the burden of proof. Maybe that could be a reason. I don't know. So, Johnny, you had some thoughts on this as well.
Well, just what's her definition of God? She doesn't really. She never.
We never got to that. I don't know.
And I mean, sure. What bugs me is she came out there and didn't really give it even a subject, and we're sitting there trying to, she made an argument without really even making any claims, and that's kind of what I felt like is she was trying to set up some sort of semantic trap, where you figure out that
it was kind of a derailment of everything. Yeah. It reminds me of when I talked to Matt Slick, and he was like, "Well, how do we know that you're not lying? And how do we know I'm not lying? We could all be lying." And I'm like, I guess we could all. Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's all lies. So I guess that ends the conversation because we could all be liars. So that's just meant to end the conversation, I guess.
Yeah, it's a nice game of hide and go fuck yourself.
It's like hide and no seek.
Yeah.
No, really, I'll look for you. Go hide.
There's got to be a burden of proof in there.
Well, but the reason, it's a tautology. The burden of proof is a tautology. It either is true or it's not true. And so if it's true, then we have to prove something.
I feel like tweeting out to Eve and telling us that we're live right now so you can get her in here.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'm sure that she's busy writing her.
No, she's a PhD. Then she's got
PhD stuff. Yeah,
I am going to tweet out. I am going to
totally believe that she's a PhD.
Because burden of proof is on our mind.
Yeah, that's what you wrote. Burden of proof is on my mind. So, you know, it's a tautology. It's one of these things that has to be true, and there's just no other way around it.
Like a 2-year-old kid doesn't understand it, but the burden of proof is if there's something that I claim to that kid, they're not going to sit there and go through all the logical thing and say, well, no, the burden of proof. You know, if they want me to prove that I have a sucker in my pocket that they're going to freaking be able to chew on.
Yeah, yeah, it's not it's not really that difficult of a concept. I have a baseball. Really? Show me the baseball. Here you go. You know,
did you see your blog post on burden of proof or whatever?
I believe I did. I don't know if I recall it verbatim. I'm looking at the thing, but yeah, it's the only. When I looked up, I was looking up burden of proof, and I saw a blog about it arguing against it, and until later, when you pointed out her blog, I didn't realize that that's the blog that I'd seen. It's the only thing that I saw that was anti-burden of proof at all. So
for atheists or whatever.
At all, yeah. It doesn't it's just at all. It's the only thing. Now maybe Google failed me, and there's more out there that argues against it. I
searched for it too, and I'm right with you there because I did a lot of research to figure it out. It's like what she's trying to say to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I've seen her saying it is that nobody has to prove anything, or that's the way I felt that she was kind of talking.
Well, that would be the other half of the dichotomy, is that either it's true that we have to prove things or it's not. So if it's not true, then I don't have to prove that it's true. And if it is true, then I do have to prove that it's true. But it's not true that I have to prove that it's true that it's true.
All right.
Well, you know, and I did a video and I linked to the video, which I am pretty sure she didn't bother to watch, which was the extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And somebody asked, well, what's the extraordinary evidence of that? Because you're making an extraordinary claim. And it's the same sort of attempt at making the statement into a paradox. And it's like, look, it's a tautology. And if you really want to avoid it, then fine. The burden of proof is on the one who makes the claim other than this sentence itself. Okay, now what? Now what's your response to that? Because I've cleared up the potential paradox. So what's your complaint now? You're going to say, oh, that's special pleading? Well, I guess you could say that, but if you're using logic, then what's your problem with the burden of proof? Oh, well, according to Eve, it's like, well, you have to prove it's true using logicians. Okay, so we're now appealing to authority. How many logicians? Because I've got Douglas Walton on my side. So there's a logician, checkmate, right? Okay. Do I need more than one logician? Oh, well, she mentioned one that I needed to read. Who was that name? Let me see. You talk while I look for that.
Yeah, so I was kind of zoning off here a little bit.
What video did this take place on?
Hey, Mark misses logic again.
It's on Mark's video. Well, Chris's video.
Yeah, Mark.
So
his friend.
Somebody's missing the mark.
His friend is named Chris.
Okay.
Indeed.
Hey, Chaosism.
How's it going?
How's it going? I haven't seen you around for a while.
There's a link to the video of the
link. Good job.
Yeah.
Good. I was lazy. I didn't have to search for it. Thank you.
What was the name? I believe it was the last name, and I'm gonna go ahead and assume that I'm right on that. That didn't backfire last time I did that.
So one of the opposition examples I've seen for the burden of proof is solipsism. Like, is reality real? Can you prove that that's real?
Well, you're talking hard solipsism, obviously.
Yeah. So to only accept the truth of a premise or a proposition when it's proven to you, or when there's ample evidence, can you provide evidence that reality is in fact real? It is, I think I've heard Ford is an example of a supposed I don't know if you've heard that, but I'm just talking while I'm looking up the comment thing.
It's under Hector's comment. There's like 50 replies or whatever to
There's
that.
exactly 50 replies. Yes.
There
it is. Eric Crabble was the name, as well as Gerald Massey, John Woods, and Eric Crabble. And I believe, because I can't now find it and I'd have to Google it again, that Eric Crabble was the only one of those three that had anything to do with logic at all. And when I looked up Eric Crabble, the only thing I could find was him being written about by Douglas Walton, who I already know. I've read Douglas Walton. I love Douglas Walton. I would love to meet him in person. That would be just fantastic. But at any rate, and Douglas Walton was, in reference to Eric, was saying that Eric has talked about and analyzed the burden of proof and how it shifts throughout a dialogue, and Douglas Walton was then applying these principles to his own studies of artificial intelligence, which his thing that he's trying to do is make an AI that can analyze argumentation. So that would put me out of a job. And I'd be like, well, I welcome my new machine overlord. Or it would make my job a lot simpler. It'd be like, here, have this theist argument. Be like, error very must kill all humans, whatever.
That would start making a chat bot that could just totally counter all of the arguments anyway.
There would be no.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of them are so rudimentary that it would,
that's what I mean. It probably won't be that hard to actually do.
Well, but it's an AI that's supposed to be able to do the informal part of logic, which is more about the words that we commonly use and trying to understand what I meant when I said, the words that I'm saying right now, like, because I'm not being precisionary language, so to be able to analyze that would require AI. So that's what Douglas Walton has been doing, because he's a real PhD. He's actually doing things with his PhD. But so I was like, okay, well, Eric, if that's the correct name, and it's not one of the other three, I'm pretty sure it is. He didn't say that the burden of proof didn't apply, so I'm not sure why Eve told me to read these people. The other two people were, the one was a spiritualist, the other one, I don't know what the bleep they did. It was like, what? And it had nothing to do with logic. And it turns out she's supposedly a teacher of philosophy. Well, logic's a subset of that, but you're not a teacher of logic per se. And then you're telling me to get a bunch of logicians together that agree with the burden of proof. So, okay, so does it appeal to authority and appeal to majority then? Because that would totally solve the issue, right? Like, come on. You could always just, it's a tautology. The burden of proof is a tautology. It's I have never ever seen it questioned, except for hard solipsism. That's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head that would come close to actually trying that, and maybe last Thursdayism would do it.
It's essentially the same principle.
Yeah.
I don't think hard solipsism truly exists unless you're, I don't know.
Well, it's a rabbit hole. I mean,
yeah.
Or what's the other one called? Truism. I think we talked about this one before.
Truism? No,
it's trivialism. Sorry, trivialism is true. So ask me if trivialism is true. Yes. Ask me if it's false. Yes. And so in trivialism, everything is also true and false simultaneously. No, and no one is a true trivialist. But if there's no burden of proof, then I guess anything goes, right? I mean, how would it function when we made a claim? If we don't have to back it up, then what? Then what's the use of identifying logical fallacies? What's the use of,
where would we? How would we move forward from that point? I don't see that. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Ninja Star?
Ninja Star Snowflake thing.
Yeah, Ninja Star Snowflake thing.
I do remember seeing the very beginning of this thread, and I was going to chime in until I saw that you and Johnny were in there talking to her, and I figured it would stop. But I noticed yeah, I think she would keep engaging with you guys. That was
well. Once I accidentally called her a feminist, that I think that was the end of it. And I did Twitter. I twittered at her my apology because I was wrong, and nobody should be called that unless they are one. So I was wrong. I'm sorry. I was wrong.
Yeah, but it looks like she is arguing against a rigid application or standard of the burden of proof. I think in that case she is right. That's not what it is. I'm just seeing the very beginning. I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, when would it not apply? Because I'm having trouble grasping.
Well, it's not the case of its applicability. It's the case whether it's obligated or an obligation or not.
Okay.
I think is where the disconnect occurred in this discussion, just for seeing the very beginning.
Yeah, that's like the social contract where if I'm just talking to you and I'm like, hey, I ate dinner last night, you're not going to...
I will say this. When I was checking up on her on a Google search, I found other people talking about her that it was a theist, but said that her argument was really good or whatever. That she uses that argument a lot. The same argument there. That's her pet peeve is the burden.
Wow. That just reeks of desperation to me, though. Because that means you don't have something to prove. You don't have a way to prove. It
doesn't make sense to me.
Even though it might not make sense, still, I'm trying to consider it as potentially valid because I don't want to just.
One comment that Hector made was probably the most logical to me, where he says, "It's simple as this: you have to prove to me, otherwise I won't believe you." That's the way. That's reality. That's life.
Yeah, it is. It is very basic, but what Chaos was saying is that it doesn't. There are social what I call the social contract, which is when we're just talking to each other, we assume innocence until guilt is proven. So if I say I ate dinner last night, you're not going to make me prove that that's true. So the burden of proof wouldn't be something that you would be like demand of me. But if you did, okay, fine. There might not be a way that I can prove it, and then you get to be skeptical of that statement. And so what? Big deal.
And you know what? For me, the burden of proof is sort of, to me, if I'm going to make a claim, it's just a social courtesy thing to me. I have to back up my claim if I make something, and that's just the way I feel.
Exactly.
Well, I understand. I think that chaos system's right. I mean, in a casual conversation, you're not going to be like, well, prove that you just inhaled air 5 seconds ago. I mean, there's certain things that we're not built to do that, but they're
But in the context of there's a God.
or any other claim that is questionable, absolutely, something that we're examining. And so if we were to, for example, say, well, let's see if we can prove whether or not Deconverted Man ate dinner last night or not. Let's do that because we're bored,
Well, that's falsifiable.
I don't know. So it would be. I mean, there'd be some way to do it, but we'd have to figure it out. It might be impossible to do, but yeah, I mean, like, well, if we thought about it ahead of time, we've been like, well, let's weigh you now today, and then let's weigh you the day after tomorrow, and if you weigh more, then we can determine something.
I was thinking we get some aliens to cut you open and figure out.
I don't know, Chaos is a much better example than the kind of transition. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say with the burden of proof thing, I got two things. Eve's little, ace up the sleeve thing where it's, prove the burden of proof kind of thing. The burden of proof isn't a claim about reality. So I don't think it is subject to the burden of proof anyway, because as she said, it's just kind of you guys are just over the social not an obligation, but something of the like. So you're forwarding something as a truth about reality. If you don't follow your burden, it's your place to show why that's true. If you don't do it, you don't have to, but if you don't expect your claim to be taken as true. There's no reason to accept it. Doesn't mean it's wrong, obviously.
Would you agree with me that it's a tautology then?
I don't know what a tautology is. A tautology? A tautology?
Tautology. Look, I can't say words. You should know that by now. Tautology, whatever.
But doesn't that fit for her too? Then she has to prove her claim about the burden of proof claim.
No.
Right.
Well, here's the other thing too. It's because there's a little bit of stigmatization around that phrase, especially with certain individuals, as you guys know. So to rephrase it is literally just say, "Why should I accept that as true?" Totally dismantles that, gets rid of all this stigmatization, and moves forward. I've actually done that several times.
Why should I think the question, why should I think that is true, right? They could go that route, and I think it's just it's a dishonest tactic that people use. I mean, I've seen
it is, but the burden of proof is phrased like a statement, like a claim. That's why she does that.
Yeah,
that little trick. But if you ask a question, why should I accept this as true? Which I actually did pose to Chris, or Mark as you call him, in his respective video, and he agreed that is actually would be the proper way to do it. So even he was accepting of that.
Yeah.
So it's all in the presentation. A lot of times, there's a lot of semantical jargon and crap.
Yeah, but I mean, and this is somebody that's claiming to be a PhD in philosophy, so I think that they would know better. So it's just something doesn't smell right there.
It might just be a disconnect in what you two are thinking, talking past each other, because that happens quite a lot.
Yeah,
internet.
I that's why I did so much research on her too. I kind of researched her God argument, and I checked all that on her blog. She doesn't make any claims that are any better than anybody else's. So
yeah, does she even offer a positive one at all? Or is it just like, well, those pesky atheists haven't disproven it? So
she seems to hate atheists. There's definitely bias with atheists.
That's all right, fine. But what's her argument for God?
You'd have to go. It's on her blog on that same page there.
All right, you got to link me directly to her argument then, because I didn't see that.
All right, I will do that.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Okay, so have we exhausted that topic? Are we tired of it now? Or
no?
No.
Actually, I'm just kidding. I don't think so at all.
Let's go
through this crazy thread.
Yeah, we're done with this. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, we could tease it.
You know what? We haven't exhausted it because I've noticed too that the burden of proof argument's been in a lot of atheist videos or whatever lately. A lot of people have been.
I mean, these things cycle. I mean, they come up.
The herd mentality, you want to call it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, we're talking about this now. Okay, all right. Well, I guess I'll talk about that because everyone else is, Let's talk about herd mentality. Oh, hey, look, we're talking about herd mentality. Let's talk about herd mentality. That's a good idea.
Oh, it's just on that same vlog, but it's one on her comment. You got to scroll down.
Oh, it's in the comments.
Yeah, she gives her positive case for God right there.
Oh, okay. No, I lost it. Where was it? No, that's not it.
Here's what's really funny about it, though. I think the cumulative weight of metaphysical argument is overwhelmingly on the side there being a such thing as rightly to be called a God. But isn't that kind of funny because isn't metaphysical like not physical, so it doesn't have any weight?
What?
There's kind of two. That's funny.
Hold on, I'll be right back, guys.
No. How's everything coming along with your house, Johnny?
It's not my house, but
or
front of it. I mean, it was built in like 1910 or 1912. So it's like the next family that lived there added a section on, and the next family that lived there added a section on. But there's a lot of rot in there. But it's pretty well. Got all the hard parts done, so getting ready to shoot pool and debunk videos or something.
There you go. I like the little syllogism you gave Johnny in that comment thread. Premise 1, I am Robert. Premise 2,
we were talking about that before we went live. I thought.
What was that?
Your premise 1, I am rubber. Premise 2, you are glue in that comment string.
Yeah, I also like that. I was like, I cannot find a logical flaw in that argument.
It's a solid one, right?
It's a solid one, valid. It's not sound, but it's valid. Well, because you're not really rubber.
There are some things that I do kind of agree with that side on a lot. Like a lot of the things that are commonly put forth as logical fallacies really aren't logical fallacies.
Yeah, that's why I think so too.
And they get thrown around like candy. It's like when people see someone get misrepresented, they claim straw man. I'm like, yeah, that's not quite a straw man unless they're drawing conclusions.
They heard it they heard news commentators say it too much, so everybody thinks they can use it now.
Yeah, it get turned into buzzwords. Burden proof kind of is like that too. People don't understand.
Yeah, I try to whenever I do my whole here's this logical fallacy that they did. I always try to. Or not always try to, because I obviously don't always do it, but try to explain why I see it being that thing rather than just say, well, that's what it is, But hey, I'm not perfect, so I'm gonna. But yeah, I love.
Could have fooled me.
Tell me I'm wrong so I can fix it. Although it's like later in the comments, people are like, yeah, you didn't do that. I'm like, usually it's people telling me I missed logical fallacies rather than getting them wrong. So if I get one wrong, point me out. Point me out. Whatever. Do that.
I don't even use logical fallacy names in my arguments. I just point out that their mistake is.
Well, there's a benefit to doing so.
I understand. I understand all that too. Yeah, I know.
Well, one of them is a mnemonic reason too, is because people, you hear Texas sharpshooter fallacy or something like that. It kind of sticks in your head a little bit more than just an explanation does. So people remember them better. In addition to adding a little bit of weight, like a feel of authority to it, so it sounds like something.
Bonus points to Johnny if he knows what that fallacy is.
I do not know that. I heard it before, but I don't know what it is.
That's a fun one. I like that one.
Yeah. So basically, well, the metaphor is that you've shot like a shotgun, and then you circle the bullet marks, and you're like, "See,
with the bullseye."
Yeah, I've got a bullseye there. So it's where you throw out a number of different.
Sharpshooting.
It's basically, I believe, it just boils down to confirmation bias thing, like Nostradamus's predictions. You can line up how they're correct, but that's ignoring all the ways that they're wrong.
Right. If you throw out enough arguments that one of them is going to stick, there's a variant of it where
focus on that.
Yeah, the sharpshooter by itself. Or not sharpshooter. The shotgun fallacy is where you throw out a bunch of arguments. I'm sorry. Sharpshooter is where you, where you make a conclusion about this one particular small sample size without considering the rest of the data. Or in the metaphor sense, you ignore that there's lots of bullets holes, so you only focus on the one that you happen to draw the thing around, the bullseye around. Although we don't draw them as bullseyes look. We draw them red with a lot of circles around them. So I'm not sure why we call them bullseyes.
You're breaking the analogy.
All right, so transitioning, let's talk about the soul, because that's an easy subject. Do we have a soul?
I didn't look at your video yet.
That's okay. We don't need to look at my video to know if we have a soul or not.
I have a couple souls.
Yeah, at the bottom of my feet.
Bottom of my...
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't heard you guys play drums or any rhythmic instruments yet, so I don't know if you got a soul.
I've got rhythm, I've got music. Who could ask for anything more? Yeah. Other than that,
Johnson on the jerk.
I think we're kind of on the same page on this topic, but...
Well, but it was a question that this one person had posed and said, well, you atheists need to consider it, was another thing. It was like, we've never considered this, right? I was like, I was a little bit insulted by that, but yeah, he didn't mean it as an insult, I'm pretty sure. But it's like, okay, well, do I have a spirit/soul? So what is the consciousness? It was like, well, I don't know. I'm no neurological person, so you're
the hard problem of consciousness. Can you solve it? Can you
can you solve the, what is the nature of reality, Deconverted Man? Sure, that's easy. But then, okay, now I should have done what, and I always think of this later, is that or I don't always, I sometimes always think of this, is I should have said, well, what, even if I gave you an answer, would that negate the answer that you think is true? Because, like, with people that say, well, God made the Big Bang. Well, okay, well, because we don't know what made the Big Bang. Well, what if we did? You'd still say it was God, right? So it's not really like when you're appealing to this bit of ignorance to say, well, therefore God, you really wouldn't. You would still do that even if we had the gap to fill in that knowledge. So why do the fallacy? Why even appeal to ignorance in the first place?
Because it's intuitive.
It's intuitive-ish, I guess. It's like, well, I don't know what else to do. So, but yeah, I mean, with this soul or spirit, I think in one way, and maybe you guys disagree with me, I think it's actually more of a deeper, hard-hitting question than if there's a God, because it's like we're talking about you. What makes you you? And it's like, well, if you don't have a soul, well, then what does that mean? So I think it's a more personal question than if there's a God. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
But you could be an atheist and believe in a soul, technically speaking. Although I've not yet encountered such a person. But
one of my cousins. So
okay. So what do you think? What is it? What is a soul or a spirit to you? And then do we have one? I suppose would be the question.
Well, let Johnny answer this.
Yeah, let Johnny answer. I know your answer.
Keep talking.
You know my answer?
I know your answer. I'm reading your mind. Didn't you know that I was reading your mind?
I don't have a mind. What do you? Lost that a long time
now
ago.
I don't know. Now I don't know your answer at all. Okay, what is your answer? I think. Well, I don't know what your answer is to what a soul is. So maybe you have an idea, different idea of what that is.
Let Johnny answer first. That's more.
He
fun.
said he was busy.
Oh, did he?
I don't believe in a soul at all. I don't believe that anybody has.
There you go.
Well, the concept of a soul is a totally undefined, nebulous concept that people just hold because we're really good at holding ambiguous ideas in our heads that really, upon dissection, fall apart and dissolve into the ether. But I think we get a lot of that from our sense of empathy. I think it stems mostly from mirror neurons, if you know what those are. Those are pretty awesome. But we have the ability to place ourselves in other people's shoes and actually look at ourselves as if we're a different person, like an introspection thing. And, the duality of mind and body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strong tendency in children, and that is often retained. So that comes about from our ability to easily picture ourselves in like another scenario without our body. We can project our idea of ourselves away from our body. We can separate the two. So we believe that the two things can be separated because to us that makes sense and we can easily envision that. And just us being able to easily imagine things serves as an intuitive foundation to believing something. So, I mean, there's a lot obviously going on in our heads. And when we examine, what I call it, metacognition is when you're thinking about yourself thinking.
Right.
I think it's called metacognition. So are you guys familiar, with naive realism?
No, that's a new one for me.
Naive realism is basically that what you see is how reality actually is.
Okay.
Like what you're looking at with colors and stuff isn't necessarily how reality is. It's the way your brain's forming its interpretation of reality based on the biological impulses from your photosensitive cells firing and activating parts of your brain, and then that gets formed. So naive realism is someone that doesn't know that. It's very ignorant, naive, as per the name. So the same thing would apply to anything we analyze, including how we think, our own thoughts. Because what we're thinking and perceiving has to be processed through our brain first, which means it could be very readily distorted. So even if we're thinking about ourselves thinking, that might not be what's going on in reality, which is a really, really weird thing to think about.
It's like I'm thinking that I'm thinking, but in fact, I'm not actually really thinking that at all. Okay, well, that exploded my brain.
Sorry.
You just gave me gas.
Well, yeah, with the thing of the soul or the spirit, whatever, whichever you want to call it. Yeah, I would when I was a theist and I believed in that as well. You know, it was this concept, and actually it's funny because the guy that had posted the video made a video response slightly. I told him I wouldn't respond with a full video to that until he answered some or all of the questions that he's been asked, because that's only fair. I already answered some of your questions, so you know, answer ours, and then I'll look at you. But at any rate, he made this metaphor of, you know, somebody's driving the car and the engine breaks down, and the car is the body and the driver is the soul. And it's like, well, I made an analogy like that, but with the avatar of self, that, you know, that the DM character that you see that's a cartoon drawing, that's not really me, and I'm behind the keyboard. So there's a person on the keyboard behind the physical body that you see or whatever, right? And Matrix kind of played with that idea a little bit, you know, that the characters in the Matrix, they're not really real, but the people are plugged into them are really real. They happen to look like their character in the Matrix, even though they could have looked totally different, you know? So it's like, well, that's nice, but there would be some sort of connection to examine at some point. There'd be, you know, there's some sort of way to test this idea, because it's interacting, your soul, whatever, is interacting with your physical body, and so there would be a detection mechanism of that signal somewhere. It would,
not necessarily, because the brain is so complex. People often cite that there's no one part of a brain that could be found to, you know, control someone's arms or something like that, because the brain is so integrated. It's not as compartmentalized as we map it out to be.
Our brain thinks about things way faster than we conceptualize.
Yeah. Parts of your brain don't even talk to each other.
There is the phenomenon, like, of the studies with people with split hemispheres, where you have two distinct personas.
Flat Earth.
You have the people that, no, they've had people that have had their brain, for whatever reason, there's a medical reason that they have to separate the left and right hemisphere.
Yeah.
And they'll develop usually two personalities. And this one case I recall reading about, the left side was atheist and the right side was theist.
No, that's weird.
Yeah, the left side is usually associated with logical processes, the right side is usually associated with creative. And the way to talk to either side, you had to talk to the left side to get to the right, and the right side to talk to the left. And, you know, he could draw really well with one hand, and do math with the other hand and stuff like this.
I mean,
so,
that sounds weird.
Yeah, but it's one person that they studied like that. So it's not something you could build statistics upon or anything like that. But it's just like, okay, well, what does that tell us about consciousness? Blah. And then there's this other guy. Oh, goodness. This was a while ago I read this. He was having horrible headaches, and he went to the doctor, and they found that he had water built up inside of his brain. Usually it goes away, like during when you're a little kid, the water keeps going. The water, it's not water, but whatever the brain fluid is, you know, builds up, and it but the signal to turn off building up never hit for some reason in his head. So it kept building up. And what happened was his brain got pushed to the sides by this liquid. So he was a fully conscious person with his memories intact, but he had like the whole
brain.
Yeah, he had like a squished brain all the way around, and so he was missing huge parts of the brain that you would normally think we have to have. And they drained out the fluid, and I guess they turned on the thing that made it stop or whatever, I don't know. But, you know, he was fine after that. So it's like, well, that shouldn't work. You know, but then there's the people, this is the one that always makes me sad, is that because these are kids born with only a brain stem, and they do not tend to live very long. They can eat and they can defecate, and that's it. They'll never talk, they'll never know what language is, you know. They can see, and they react, but they react only with their whatever the nervous system allows them to do. So, you know, it's like, well, what, you know, does that if you had this idea of a soul, it's like, well, does that person have a soul? I mean, you know,
they would probably argue.
Yeah,
I see it analogously from their perspective, like a window. The more the window is open, meaning the more capable the brain is or whatever, the more of the soul can express control over the body. So if there's not that much of a brain, it doesn't mean the soul's not there.
right. And then why not everything else that exists? I mean, you know, well, can a rock have a soul? Why not? Sure. Why?
Well, that's the anthropocentric humans.
Right.
Everything's about humans.
Right. So I think that it's kind of a, you know, it's like I asked this person that believed in ghosts, I'm like, why do we not see ghost animals? And they were like, well, you know, it really caused them to think, because it's like, you don't ever really see reports of like a ghost animal. It's always a ghost person. Well, because we're really good at identifying faces. So we're more likely to think that it's a person. And I was watching one of these random videos. It's like, here's this ghost in this car. It's like, it looks like there's a face there, but I'm like, yeah, that's just a reflection. I mean, Johnny!
Sorry.
What the heck?
What just happened?
Blue came into the chat there. I was going to invite him in.
Who? Oh, Blue.
Blue. Yeah, maybe it's a ghost naked. Sure, why not?
What?
Well, yeah, that I've brought that up too. If there was a ghost, it would have to be naked. But here's the other problem I have with ghosts, okay? If they can walk through a door or a wall or whatever, right? Well, why are they on the floor? Why don't they just sink through all the way to the center of the earth?
Well, if you're considering their form, if the form is, you know, a result of what they believe themselves to be, that would make total sense if they've got their clothes on, you know.
Okay, but
they're not following physics.
How do they obey the rule of gravity if they're insubstantial?
They're not.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They're not necessarily obeying it. It's
and like, well, if somebody dies in an airplane, like, does that mean they're in the air where the airplane was, or are they in that airplane? And like, if you demolish the airplane, like, do they stay where the junk of the airplane is? And if you like,
let's not forget that the universe is expanding, so we're not in that same point anyway.
Yeah, we're not. Well, the Earth isn't where it was when we started the conversation.
Oh.
So,
well, it doesn't matter.
How does this work?
Again, it'd be I'm just saying, defined by their mind. So if they, whatever, I mean, I'm not claiming obviously know or believe this, but I mean, that'd be easily described as the ghost be able to control whatever he looks like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think the more important kinds of questions would be gauging our interactions with them rather than their placement. Like, for instance, how could we see a ghost if they don't have a physical body? How are photons being reflected off of a ghost if there is nothing physical there? If you look at that kind of thing.
Yeah, why is it that only, like, sometimes the cameras will capture it and other times it won't, or whatever? I mean, yeah, I mean...
How do they emit sound?
Yeah. Sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, my answer was I don't, you know, because, you know, our brain, if the brain gets hurt, then you lose what you are, and as you get older, what you are changes. So, for those reasons, this idea of a soul doesn't, I mean, there's no reason to think that it does. I mean, there's a reason to think that it does, but not one that follows from skeptical thought at any rate, because we're used to existing. I guess, would be one reason we think there's a soul. You know, it's like, well, I know there was, like, when I was really young, we played the fainting game, which is really dangerous. Nobody should do it, but, you know, but we made each other faint. And I remember doing the whole process to make myself faint, and then the guy lifted me up and thinking, okay, well, this isn't going to work. For some reason, I thought it wasn't going to work on me. And, you know, like, okay, 1, 2, 3. And then all of a sudden I was like waking up like from a dream, like feeling fuzzy all over, like my foot had fallen asleep, but my whole body. And I'm like, what am I? What? You know? And like, then I knew where I was. So and they were all laughing, you know. Well, between the moment that I was counting backwards and then the moment I was waking up, there's no me there. There was just nothing. And then the other time that was something like that, I went to do a minor surgery where they removed this little bone fragment from my arm, and they had the mask on me. It's like, okay, count backwards from 100. So I got to, like, I don't know, 80 or something. And then I woke up and I'm in the room and I'm like, did they do it? What? Huh? I'm really hungry. They're like, yeah, it's gone. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, it's like, so between then and when I woke up, there was just I just wasn't. So how do you describe not? It's really hard. So
No.
yeah. Anyways, okay, so that was the soul. What was the other one that we were gonna kind of talk about?
Yet.
The soul? Yeah, we don't have a soul, so whatever.
Well, the way to evaluate it would be to identify which parts of your personality and stuff, which is not really possible, but we can see which parts of your personality and thought processes can be influenced by changing parts of your brain, the physical structure. So by that means we could tell that those parts are at least being impeded. And what's funny is that will go on to basically defeating free will, in the sense that, like, your soul is really responsible for what you're doing, but not so if your brain's impeding all of its activity and, you know, changing your intelligence, changing your personality, like that. I forgot the name of that guy who got drilled in the head with the railroad spike.
Yeah, the classic. Yeah, that was like the first case study.
You just look into it. Yeah. Phineas Gage.
I also had mentioned to the guy, I said, well, you know, I showed him links of the rubber hand experiment. I said, well, what's going on with the soul there? I mean, the body and mind is being tricked into thinking that this is your hand when it's not. You know, it doesn't always work, but it works more often than it doesn't. And so, well, what's going on there? If there's this soul and it's just like, is it smarter than your body and brain, and it just lets your body and brain be full? I mean, it's so independent of you that it's not even you anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how it works, but I said, look, you have to prove that it's a thing first. I mean, I understand you believe it is, and that's fine. If you want to just leave it as a belief, I'm not going to debate it or analyze it, because it's a belief and I don't. Okay, you have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, whatever. But if it's something you want to say is real, well, then there should be a way to test it. And that's where we get into this kind of thing of like, well, but of course you can't test it because it's supernatural. I'm like, well, then it's magic and we can't test it. And that's the end of the discussion, because what do? You can't do any. It's like the whole thing with the burden of proof having to be proven. Well, now what? We don't go forward from this point. So we have to establish a framework.
Well, that's the wall of defense. You can't investigate further. Therefore, it's an acceptable belief still.
Yeah, but again, even if you could investigate further and you found the answer was X, then would that change your belief? And if the answer is no, then, well, that's not really what you're, and it really, you should base your beliefs on appeals to incredulity or ignorance. I don't think, at any rate.
You're giving too much credit to normal people.
Well,
to
look,
most people in terms of logical thinking. You really
I don't know where on the bell curve I am, but it's
Too
not
high.
in the middle. It's too high on the bell curve, so I was over to the right. I don't know. And then I guess we're gonna maybe talk about my debate with Oshiwawa, but Johnny didn't see it, so I don't know how we're gonna talk. But that's okay. Johnny's not talking, so we can. You watched it, I think.
I'm kind of doing some things here, so go ahead and keep on.
You're doing some things, Johnny. What are you
things.
starting a hangout? What would you do if there was only Deconverted Man here? You'd just be talking endlessly.
Yeah, it's
while
just
you're
be.
doing other things.
Didn't you watch the interview that
Are you
Johnny
kidding me?
had
He
with
can
me?
talk all night.
You should see the he like, hey, Deconverted Man, how did you become this? And I'm like, I don't know what happened next, but it was like 2 hours later, and then I was done talking. I think he asked one question. Did you watch the Achiwawa thing at all, Chaosism?
Haven't gotten around to that yet. I only caught the last half of it.
Where I started to become incoherent because I was so darn tired.
I did notice that.
I'm like, questions. I don't even know what I was
doing much anything with several.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, he had kind of a modified unmoved mover argument.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really impressed by that. I had the argument. I laid out the historical argument, which he didn't touch because I mean, it probably was unfair to include that, but I don't care. But you know, it's a huge mountain to climb to prove that anything in the Bible is true outside of the Bible. I mean, it's the only thing I was able to do when I tried to do it was a few kings and a few locations, and that's it. I mean, there's not much else. I mean, so yeah, it's pretty dismal. And then there's a lot of arguments and evidence against a lot of these things, like I think somewhere where it's Exodus that the Egyptians didn't really have slaves. They didn't use they did, but they didn't use slave labor to build the pyramids. They didn't have a lot of Jewish slaves, or even I saw lately they might not have even had Jewish slaves at all. And the Jewish population was nowhere near what it's claimed to be in the Bible. So there's a few problems there. Oh, and by the way, camels weren't domesticated yet. So there's another problem. So just a few problems, to overcome, on the great debate community that Steve runs in the tech stuff, which I've been playing with every now and then. This one person was laying out I've seen this before, of how to decide when something is literal and not in the Bible. And I said, you have to give me a system that works across the board for any holy book, which I don't know if he understood why that would be important. I think you would, Chaosism. But he gave me need a system. And you're saying, and basically it started making no sense because I was like, if I say Deconverted Man blew up his girlfriend, you know that doesn't make sense because you can't blow up somebody, so you know it's metaphorical. I'm like, if I write in the book that I have the power to blow up somebody, then then how do I know it's metaphorical? I mean, God can do anything.
That one could be literal, just saying.
Yeah, well, right, could be. We don't, yeah. But it's like, well, if God could do anything, then how do you know anything in the Bible is metaphor? Because God can break every rule that there is, and so everything is true and not true simultaneously. So how would you ever decide? And there wasn't really an answer to that. And then I was like, I was trying to get him to answer my question on whether he was young or as creationist, and finally turns out he was. And I'm like, okay, we're done. I'm done talking to you because I can't move forward with somebody that's far gone. It's not like his arguments were sensical anyways, but, I'm not saying that if you're a young earther, you couldn't have a logically coherent argument. I'm saying he didn't have a argument at all, and he was a young earther, and so I was done. But yeah, I mean, you get where you it's like, I can tell this person like, I don't want to say it this way, but it's the only way I've come to be able to frame it is like, I know that they don't have an argument. That, like, when you get someone pinned on, like, why prayer doesn't regrow teeth or something like that, it's like, well, I pray for this, and, you know, I've had this and that prayer answered. Like, okay, we'll regrow my teeth. And they'll, like, right before then, they'll insist that prayer, it works and all this, and then they'll start offering excuses why you can't pray for your teeth to well, maybe if God wants that to happen, then it would happen. And it's like, they kind of know somewhere in their head that my teeth aren't going to regrow, like somewhere they know that, you know. Anyways, that's kind of mind reading though, so I don't know. I think that's it. I can't really talk too much about that debate because nobody but me knows about it, and I don't want to analyze myself. Any other deep or non-deep subjects? Anybody?
No. You know how to. Make it so that less erosion happens when you're getting a lot of rain on your driveway.
Well, I don't know what I was thinking about. Like, what could we do to reduce the whole climate getting hotter and stuff? And I'm like, well, on an individual basis, you know, reduce your energy and all that. But on a collective basis, it would have to be, I don't know what the bleep. If we went into outer space and got a big giant ball of ice and put that in the ocean, that might help. But then we'd have flooding if it melted. But if it cooled off enough of the Earth, like, then we could, like, take the ice back into outer space. I don't know. like if we dip an ice cube in the Earth a few times, would that be enough? I don't know.
When you build a giant shade, so you shade the Earth from the sun for a little while.
Yeah, that could work. There you go. Now you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
okay.
you just use Eve's ego.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Hi, Ending Dragon. Hi to Blue. I guess Blue vanished. Oh well. I hope.
I don't know if any Dragon's there anymore. I think the one watching is me.
Yeah, probably. Well, I said, I don't know if Blue's still maybe watching this or will watch it later. I don't know what went down there. If there's anything I could do to mend whatever fences or broken bridges or whatever, let me know.
Happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
So it seems like it did, but I'm not sure that it did. So I don't really know. But, you know, they seem to be upset with me, and I don't know exactly why. I mean, I can infer things and try to, you know, guess, but I don't want to do that. So I'll just be like, hey, look, whatever it was, if you want to talk about it, great. If not, well, okay. Sorry. Anyways, I'm reading this really good book. Christianity is Mind Control by Jeffrey Lee Wolfgang. And he is using this psychological test that is used to determine whether or not a group or individual has been what we call brainwashed, quote unquote, and showing using the biblical verses and things like this how Christianity does every single one of these things. So,
it is. It's generalizes and group herding mentality, and yeah, I think so.
So
I don't think it was consciously developed as a brainwashing, indoctrinating thing, but throughout the years, through time or whatever, everything had kind of just developed into that.
Yeah, one of the things was like isolating thoughts, and it's like, yeah, that's definitely a thing that's done. It's called, okay, I'm not going to pronounce it right. milieu control. So it's basically a It's the control of information. So when a cult establishes a net over the victim's communication and information from outside the cult. So the quote that he used for the Bible was in Acts that a number of people who practiced sorcery bought together their scrolls and burned them. And when they calculated the scrolls, it was the value was 50,000 drachmas. Well, the value of the scrolls doesn't matter. The fact is, they brought these things together and destroyed the scroll. And you go, well, why? Who cares? If you have the truth, then what's it matter? But the scrolls have power. They're like powerful entities because they contain spells, right? So you have to destroy them. Well, it sounds an awful lot like book burning, and it is book burning. So, yeah, that's a real good way to, control information, And then other passages in the Bible where it, says don't even associate or hang out, be friends with with skeptics. I mean, it might as well say that. Oh, there it is. Corinthians. Don't be bound together with unbelievers. For what partnership have the righteousness and lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? So basically, you're the good guys, they're the bad guys, and that's it. But it's weird because also it tells you to love your enemy. So it's like, well, which is it? But it has to be so conflicted. The author is making the case that the reason why there's so many conflicts is because all of these things are built to manipulate the mind, and so that they can't ask questions, that they're that they can't think that anybody that says anything that's contrary is automatically wrong, and things like that, and so I think I might be agreeing with him so far, but I have to finish the book anyway. So that's my book recommendation. Read a book, people. What about you, Chaos? Has anyone read anything lately?
No.
Well, that's the end of that. What about Johnny?
I've read a lot of stuff. Well, you know what? I've been so busy siding a house that I haven't really done a whole lot lately on that. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah. I don't have time to read things or do.
What do you? Yeah, anything. You're like curing people and killing people and all sorts of cool stuff. No, what you do is really amazing. I'm not I think what you do is really good and needs to be done. So I know what you do, but I don't know if you want the public to know what you do. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter much. I'm not doing anything secret, but it's not that big a deal. I don't
that's what somebody doing something secret would say.
Okay.
Really?
I don't work for the government.
Yeah. No, it's pretty mundane, really.
Like if I ask you, you're a cop, you have to say you are if you are one, right?
No, just fun stuff. Set foot in 3 hospitals today. Yay!
Wow. Just 3?
Yeah, hospitals. Well, I had to work too.
Well, and work on top of that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, isn't that part of your work though?
It has nothing to do with my work.
Oh.
It's just something I do.
Oh, it's just something you do on top of what you do.
Yeah.
So you do that for volunteer then?
Yeah.
Man. That's pretty awesome.
Eh.
Makes me feel bad. I was like, I don't do anything cool like that.
Yeah. Well, see lots of bad stuff that way too. So
that's true. But,
like it was today. Was sitting with some grandparents watching their 27-year-old die of cancer.
Oh.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, that's
kind of what's full of stuff like that. So
they just recently had done stem cell injections into somebody, and their brain was completely fixed of like whatever the bleep it was. Like I want to say like some sort of like memory issue or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's just so amazing. It's like, well, let's just use stem cells for everything. And
it's magic.
Yeah, well, almost. But then for cancer, they've done I don't know if they've advanced it anymore. They had the modified measles thing that could attach itself to certain cancer cells and kill them. And then they were trying to modify the HIV, the casing of it, in order to target cancer cells. So I don't know why we can't do this for every type of cancer yet, or if that's what they're still developing this or whatever. But I mean, wow, that's pretty amazing that we can do it at all. But it's also like sad that it's like, well, we should be able to do that with everything. Like, what are you supposed to do with that? How do you? Why can't we come up with something better? Why is it so slow to find the fix? Is that
I think so many different types of it, isn't there?
Is there politics, or is it just slow because the process of science is slow? Like, is that just or is it a combination? I wonder. I don't know.
The problem's probably being oversimplified a lot too. There's a lot of different components and types of all kinds of problems.
Isn't it just kind of like the cell doesn't know when to stop growing?
Yeah, but there's a lot more to it depending on what kind of cells they are, where they are, different. Yeah, I'm not terribly researched into that, but there's a lot to it. There's a reason why different kinds of cancer have different kinds of treatments.
Yeah, that's because it's in a certain place in your body where it's hard for getting chemo in and certain things like that. Or all
right. For this girl, like for example, it's at this point a brain tumor about the size of a large egg right on her brain stem, so it's inoperable, and they can't hit it with radiation or do anything like that. So it's been not good.
Yeah, it's hard.
So that's just a location issue, but there's different types of cancer that. Now, like I said, I'm not that researched in it, but we won't go on too much further. But I don't know.
You would think, and then could we? And then of course that one person thinks we can do a head transplant, although it's been delayed.
Geez, I wish I could.
Well, no, there's one doctor wants to do it, and it was going to be this year. It was going to be the end of this year, but it might be delayed. And he actually had a volunteer that was willing to try it.
Somebody said you can have my decapitated body.
No, the patient is a vegetable, and the controllers of their living will have granted the doctor and nurses access to the body because he wanted his body donated to science. And so this qualifies as that. Then the other guy that wants his head put on the body is this dwarf with all these other issues that he's had. Then he's projected to only live maybe 2 or 3 years from this point on. So he doesn't have a lot. Huh? He doesn't have a lot. Huh?
All right, nothing. Go ahead.
No, his head's the same size as our head. So he's projected not to live that long anyway. So he's not really losing a lot if it doesn't work. But there was a lot of question marks about it that the professionals are asking. But the one that I asked was, well, I would think he would have done it with animals first, but he hasn't. So that's really unusual, isn't it, to do human before doing any animal.
Yeah, I would think that too.
There must be some reasons, not unless he just wants to see if he can do it and get it over with, and if he lives, he lives, or whatever. Take his chances.
Yeah, well, I mean, either he'll do it when he said he was going to do it and fail and lose his career that way, or he won't do it when he said he was going to do it, and then people will call him a liar, and he might fail his career that way. Or he'll do it and succeed and get super mega famous. So, but let's just say he did do it, successfully. Even if the person was a complete, couldn't move their body at all. You know, they're alive and that's it. You know, but they're paraplegic basically. Well, that's still being alive and being able to talk and whatever. That's better than not being alive. So it's like if we could do that for other people, where you know, like let's say they developed cancer or whatever somewhere they couldn't treat. It's like, well, we do have the option of switching your head with this other body. What do you think? You know? Okay. Oh, I don't know. I guess you could say you were really ahead of the game then.
All right, kick him out.
Pun. I'll just mute him.
2 heads are better than one.
Yeah.
That's using your head.
Yeah. Get your head in the game.
I'm gonna get ahead of the class here.
Okay, enough of that.
You want my head to roll? You know what? But you know the thing is, the guy goes in for a head transplant, and he wakes up and he's like, why am I? What's going on? Where am I? I can barely breathe." And the doctor says, "Oh, sorry, you were under your underpants." And he's like, "What am I doing in here?" And he's like, "Well, you wanted a head transplant." He's like, "No, I didn't want to be transplanted with." Aw. And then he's like, "Well, I guess I'm a real dickhead now."
Yeah, I saw that coming.
That's what that's what people say when they see him.
Hey, let's go back to silly human psychology stuff.
Okay, fine. We'll do a
I'm gonna
little
try
bit
the
of that.
screen share thing real quick.
All right.
See if that works.
I wanted to make more. I could come up with more bad penis jokes.
That's why I'm trying to change the thing.
Hurry.
You guys see the screen?
I
don't know.
Wait, what? Oh, this. I've seen this stuff. Yeah.
Have you ever seen this, Johnny?
I've seen things like this. So he doesn't do anything and he knocks the guy down, right? Is that what's going to happen? Like he punches air and the guy will just fall down or whatever?
Yeah, basically. Are you familiar with this, Johnny, at all?
Hold on a second here.
Yeah, when it starts moving.
Yeah, there was they did this on what's his face? The guy that did all the comics. Stan Lee. Stan Lee had this show for a little bit where he'd like real life superheroes, and one of the things was to explore this guy that had this chi thing, and he would be like whoomp, and the person would fall down. And the assistant went there and he's like, "Well, do it on me." And he went thump, and of course nothing happens. And they like try to salvage the story anyways, like, well, convincing people that you have this power is still amazing. And it's like, no, it's not. He doesn't have a power. You're supposed like some of the other things in the same show were really amazing, like what people could do. You know, like this one person was able to dive into this really shallow pool from really high up or whatever. It's like, okay, that's kind of a superpower, you know, which was the whole premise of the show. But some of it was just, a lot of it was like, you know, people just lying about what they could do. Like the guy, he could hold wires and light up a light bulb in his mouth. And it's like, yeah, because he's got a wire that runs up to the light bulb. It's a remote light bulb. I mean, nobody is controlling this. Nobody is, you know, you're not putting this in a controlled environment. So that's not real. Okay. You know, but then there was one guy that, what was he? He could nail. He used his head to nail in a nail, like a. And they gave an X-ray of his head, and he had like super big buffer of forehead. Like he was almost like Neanderthal sort of forehead. That so he had a huge amount of cartilage between his forehead and his brain.
And a metal plate?
No, he didn't. No, he'd make himself bleed when he did it, but you know he could do it. So I was like, okay, that's a superpower. I'll call, you know. And then you know, people that you know, or this one guy could stretch his skin like way out or stuff like that. It's like, well, it's kind of like, it's more like a sort of like a disease almost, but you know. So still, it's like, okay, that counts. I'll call that a superpower. But some of the things were just completely made up powers that people were claiming were real, like the, you know, I can knock people down by waving at them. Yeah, because you can. It's a well, it's that. Okay. If you're one of the students, do you see everyone else do it and then just do it because they're doing it, or do you actually begin to believe that he has these powers?
So the way it works is people have actually gone to places like that and analyzed the students. And for instance, one of the guys testing convinced them that he knew how to do that too, and he was also a master, and the students reacted to him as if they were getting hit too. And then when he told them to like face the other way, he'd make noises out of sync, and the student would react out of sync, thinking he was getting hit by it, like in the stomach or something. So what's kind of presumed to be happening is that due to the social pressures of the students seeing other students starting to react to it, they start to form those false symptoms in their own head, in their own experience. They think they're being affected by something. It's weird how your brain controls the symptoms it feels, like the placebo effect.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So reverse placebo or whatever that's called.
Yeah. I there was the guy from Vsauce. What's his name? Michael Stevens. He had a minefield thing where and they did a thing where they all were taking sugar pills, but everybody in the room but the one is an actor, and they're all like having these symptoms, and then the person starts saying, oh yeah, I feel symptoms, you know, whatever the bleep it is too. So it's the reverse placebo, ill people, or there was a technical name for it. I forget what they called it.
I don't remember what it is.
Anti-placebo or whatever. But yeah, so you can make people feel good or you can make them feel bad. So that's...
And what's funny is that all the students that react that way probably, I'm not sure how something like that would start, but they end up convincing the master and each other. So they're like all supporting the belief. So like all the students, like that, I think it was that particular guy that I showed the clip of.
Yeah.
After he lost the fight, the students and master rationalized that the other guy, the MMA fighter, deflected the energy rather than it not working.
He was so convinced that he had this power. He challenged an MMA fighter, and he totally got he got his butt whipped, like just
destroyed. Yeah.
Like he just got destroyed. He got like thrown around like a rag doll, basically. And so then they just convinced themselves that the MMA fighter has more chi control.
Yeah, wow. Something. And then have you ever seen other things like when skeptics go up to challenge it, they'll come up with all kinds of rationalizations. And I regard the ability to rationalize humankind's best superpower.
Yeah. So it's called the no plebo effect, by the way. That's what we were looking for.
No plebo, yeah, that is exactly right. So they were interviewing one of the guys, and they say it often doesn't work on skeptics, and they don't explain why. But then, like the guy followed up, well, maybe he had his tongue in the wrong place in his mouth.
Yeah, I remember that interview. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then maybe like if you put one of your toes up and one down, I can't knock you out. And then if you do, if I go to knock you out again and you flip them back and do the other one, I will never knock you out. And they're rationalizing all this.
Yeah, like, right. I remember.
And they're doing it with a straight face. It's like insane.
Yeah. So what you're saying is like, let's say one guy that knows it's fake. If I teach some schmuck that doesn't know this technique and then convince them that it's true or it might work, maybe he doesn't have to believe that it's true yet. But then I just get one other schmuck that's in with it, like you and I, and you fall down when I go hiya, and then he does hiya, and you fall down, and there's somebody else there, and they saw you fall down. Then when they do it on that other person, now they've convinced each other that this works.
Right. It might be like not instantly believe, like you fall down, like due to like the pressure. That's what you're expected to do, or what you feel you're expected to do. So you react, and you might you're probably not going to think of yourself as so much of a fool. Like, what am I doing? Because your brain wants to rationalize and preserve your self-image too. So that's when you start interpreting, like, maybe I did feel something there. And
that's basically what we see when people are doing the things in church where they're falling over. And...
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what the religious parallel to that is?
Yeah.
Try to not look stupid if you're just thinking walking up the steps.
Speaking in tongues.
And then I was gonna do this. It's this.
Yeah, there it is. So they're all falling down. He's like, bam!
Yeah, and the people there could actually believe that they're feeling something and feel those sensations as if, undeniably.
Right.
Especially with that many people reacting. Imagine how much of a
pressure it
would be if you were the one guy who like didn't fall over or something, especially in the context of it being like a religious thing like that.
Right. But I mean,
if you didn't go along with that, that would be
I want to ask,
terrible.
how many people would it take to not go along with it that would cause the reverse reaction? Like,
dissent is very powerful. I don't know. I couldn't ever put numbers on it, especially since
I know, but
yeah, one person dissenting could probably start a chain reaction.
Like, just like how many skeptics could go to that sort of church and stand there at like different places in the church, not all together, because I think that, and just keep standing there and like, and
that could backfire because you could be is there a reason it's not working on you is because you're a skeptic, and
but they don't know we're a skeptic. They
might suspect that immediately, that there's something wrong with you, rather than not working.
Right.
I would think that would happen more likely by far.
Yeah,
that would be rationalized that way than to question the power of God kind of thing.
Yeah.
So here's the proper version. Have you guys ever seen this one?
The lightning
Is it still
bolt?
sharing? Yeah.
What the heck?
Have you seen this, Johnny?
It's just smacking somebody on the head. That hurts.
Have you seen this, Johnny?
Hold on. All of a sudden, Pancake's Catapult is playing in the background here. I don't know how to turn it off.
He finally got it to play. What a delayed reaction.
Yeah, so this is silliness. This makes more sense than what was actually going on, though.
How in the hell?
He's got lightsabers. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Lightsaber.
I can't figure it out, man.
That makes more sense.
They did a thing. I've seen this more than once where they did fake force things or psychic power or whatever. The whole diner is set up to where things fall down and move around. This gal's like screaming and all this stuff happening, right? And the person's just like, huh, what? Like they don't know how to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's funny because we know we're in on the joke, but if you didn't explain to them, like, I wonder, you could easily make people think that you had legitimate psychic powers by setting up things to fall down or whatever, and just being like, boop, they fall down, and if they don't get to examine how it happened, they're gonna walk away thinking that you did it, right?
I think it'd be more interesting to make the person think they have psychic powers.
That would
because our brains so strongly look for cause and effect things. That if you rigged it up so whenever they looked at something for a while, it would fall over.
Look at that painting, and then you could have like then set up to where paintings in the hall would fall down too, or whatever as they leave, and just make them think that that's messed up.
That'd be an interesting thing to set up and see if it works, because
we
do it because people get fooled pretty easily.
We've started our own
unfortunately
cult and religion now. Pure Carbon says hello.
Oh, what the hell is he doing here?
I don't know. Did he join? No, he didn't. He didn't care.
He says hello with a question mark.
And that was
There's
it.
still 2 watching now. I see. One of them's me, and one of them is.
I like up next. Racist asks if white peoples have souls. No, we don't. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Next. I don't care that he's racist. The answer is still no. All right.
Yeah, I know.
Let's
What
see.
fallacy is that?
That they're racist.
Fallacy quiz time.
Oh, them dismissing what they say because they're racist? Or is that, hold on.
No, basically saying like, if he's asking you if white people have souls, but it's actually the case that no one does. But to say yes or no to that, and then him to make a point off of that, like totally excludes that it applies to everybody anyway. It's basically similar to a hasty generalization.
Yeah.
But
It's groupthink.
Herd mentality.
Herd mentality. Let's all talk about herd mentality.
okay, what's another good logical fallacy we can see if Johnny knows? How about
Post hoc, proper ergo hoc.
yeah. You know that one, Johnny? Post hoc, proper ergo hoc.
Yeah, mistaking things. What is it? Post hoc, ergo proctor hoc.
Yeah.
That's what we said.
Well, it's sort of different.
Well, it's like this. I'll explain what it is. Use it in a sentence. It's post hoc, proper ergo hoc. There, use it in a sentence.
Basically, taking things for granted, I think, is kind of what it means, right?
That's incredibly vague, but it's in the ballpark.
Because of this, therefore, after this, how do you say it?
Mistaken cause.
After this, because I can't words. My words went gone.
And after this, therefore, because of this.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, I couldn't.
Mistaken what caused
it's
it.
causation is not.
Yeah.
Or correlation is not causation.
Causation is association rather than
You think
association. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I turned
How
on,
about suppressed-
I turned on my light and the horse outside fell down. So obviously,
I get a C+ on that.
Yeah,
fallacy?
you know,
How about suppressed correlative?
suppressed correlative.
Suppress what? I don't know. I don't know many
Now he's making up words now.
No, that's a real.
Suppressed correlative.
Yeah.
Man, my brain. I don't know. Let's see.
You're looking it up.
No, I'm not.
Rusty trombone fallacy.
That's I can't. How do you spell that again?
I'm not selling. Yeah, you have to spell words. No, it's basically where you redefine something as to negate a yes or no answer to make like basically if someone were to ask, no, someone makes shit up all the time in the chat. Anyway, it's basically when like if someone were to ask you, do you think this Ferrari's fast? And you say, well, compared to a jet plane, no cars are fast. That would be an example of it. You're just now destroying the point of the question by redefining what fast means.
Yeah, I'm getting up early, so.
Okay. When I tried to Google it, it said, "Do you mean suppressed alive logic?"
What? Suppressed alive logic.
Suppressed correlative logic. Suppressed alive logic?
Brian Stevens is back. What is going on here?
I need to go to bed. Oh, that's what it is.
What is that word?
Hey, it's Brian Stevens. Hey, Brian, how you doing? I haven't seen you around for a while.
Deconverted man.
I can't spell.
I know. It's okay.
It's so funny though. Suppressed alive. And the first result was 188 whatever bleep logic, because that rapper's name Logic.
Nice.
Oh. Yeah, I hate that rapper.
pressed
I go to search for Logic now, and it's like rapper. I'm like, dang, damn it! Logic -sign rap. Oh, hey Steven, hey Johnny. Pass it now. I'm smoking. I should be asleep by now. That's what I'm
Deconverted Man's hogging everything.
Good night,
that
everybody.
you think
I'm gonna go to bed now. Thanks, Johnny,
Hey.
for whatever this was, and Chaosism as always. And listen until we have a logically coherent argument. We must continue to be skeptical of the conclusions. Now play the Catapult Pancake song,
Premise
Johnny.
1, I am rubber. Premise 2, you are
glue. Conclusion. Whatever I say, if what I no, you need more premises to get to the conclusion.
No, I don't.
Right. I don't know what's going on again.
Rubber glue for whatever you say bounce off me, stick to you. Well, we have to. There's more premises required to make that work.
Not according to that. Not according to that
Look,
thing at all.
I'm gonna work on that one and come back to you with it. And play the Catapult song, Johnny, and then I'm gonna go.
You have a question in the chat for you, Deconverted Man.
When I get sleepy, I start to lose rationality.
You're sleepy a lot.
I'm sleepy a lot.
Sleepy Eye, that's the name of that town that I'm working in.
Anyways, I gotta get up early. So, all right, guys. Good night. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Night.
Thanks for getting me motivated to do something. It's been a while. I haven't done
You
anything.
guys should keep talking. Whatever. Play Catapult Pancakes. Johnny's not doing it now. It's just to irritate me.
Well, it came on for no reason, so I don't
play
know
it. Do it.
I can't play it now.
Now you can't figure it out. Okay, bye.
All right. I'll see you later, man. There he goes. He's out here. Who is in the chat? This is Brian and still Steve Ballman. Hey, Steve. How you doing? So often do you have to? So I'm trying to. I got a new camera and I can't figure out how to use it. I still have to use the laptop camera, but I don't want nobody wants to see my mug anyway. So
Where'd you get that from?
I just picked up a Logitech one at Walmart. Except the other camera that I bought, you have to spend about $400 just to get something that it has an input for a microphone on it. So I didn't really want to go that route because I really don't want to do too many Catapult Pancakes.
Tell him to get out of here.
Get out of here. Oh, yeah. Show a cat pic, that's what I do. So what were we talking about anyway?
I think he was doing most of it.
I know. That only leaves us at a... I don't know what I say. Dead air now.
I could just ramble about stuff in psychology like I was doing earlier, but that's no fun now.
Nah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of... There was a subject that I don't know if I asked you or not, but I'm going to ask you a question about... I thought you'd know more about than I do.
I will try to answer questions.
Now, I can't remember what it was. You'll have to give me a minute for that. So, what is... No, I can't think of it. I'm going to try too hard. Why is it raining so hard lately? Here. Not where you're at.
Because I
Get a lot of rain in
will.
Chicago? Get a lot of rain in Chicago?
I don't know.
Last
What's a
couple
lot
of-
of rain? I don't really see other places. I don't think I've been more than 200 miles away from here, ever.
I think you're probably pretty close. You could probably get pretty close to where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Nah, it's about 6 hours to Chicago from here.
Yeah. That's
Not rain like for the last few days. Our driveway all rutted out or whatever. That's the That's why I came out so late. I was going to do it earlier, but I had to shovel all the gravel, put it back in the ruts. That was really fun. Yeah, man, I just wish I could remember that freaking question I was going to ask you, though.
What about those Deconverted Man still up? What the hell?
I know.
He's doing things.
DriveGoogle.com.
So do Brian or Steven ever join a chat of yours? Those two guys in there?
No.
Because me alone is not going to be anything good.
Steven, can you tell us about geology? You want to join in? Does it rain by the...
The third man is pushing that catapult pancakes thing. I'm not looking at my email, Deconverted Man. Steven said he's up to join.
Let me get that link. There you go. Watching a couple of Steven's videos, I think he goes out in the field and does his stuff with his research. Hey, Steven.
Hey.
Hello.
So what's new in the world of your field?
Hey. Hold on. For some reason, you guys are really low. I can't hear you very well. Hold on. Probably because I'm outside smoking.
How do I sound?
You sound great. How do I sound?
You sound fine to me. I guess it'd be up to him, but he's muted at the moment.
Yeah. Probably because he's outside smoking.
Brian said, "You per rain," for some reason.
What did he say? Yoper rain is epic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It rained so much. Between my bad lungs and my.
I don't think you have to worry about that. I'm not sure if anyone's actually listening.
Yeah. Saw you on the great debate thing a couple weeks ago.
Sorry.
Saw you on with Steven. Not Steven. Was it Steve, right?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I saw you on the great debate. I watched that for a while. I was kind of busy, but
Yeah.
I tried to send you. Tried to send you a chat message, but I was in and out, and I didn't see if you replied or not.
Oh, yeah. What's going on? Oh, yeah, that was in response to like a Venom Fang X thing. I actually didn't really like that hangout too much, except for the fact that the Living Dinosaur and King Crocodile.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool.
That was really cool, man. That was, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not the kind of thing I really like doing. Is criticizing in that manner someone's video with a bunch of people who already disagree with it too. To me, I mean, that's not as much entertainment to me. I kind of have I wouldn't say fear of, but I've got a pretty strong repulsion of any kind of echo chamber environment.
Yeah.
And that was definitely feeling like it to me. So like,
I mean,
so that's.
I haven't watched news for a long time, or any of the mainstream news for a long time, but that's all it is an echo chamber in there. And it's kind of why I stick on YouTube, is to avoid that. So
yeah, I'm sub to more theist channels than I am to any kind of atheist channel.
Yeah.
She get along with a lot of them pretty well. But
except for the ones that think you're going to burn in hell just because you don't believe.
Yeah.
Kind of avoid them.
Yeah. Well, what's funny too is if you flip back and forth between two opposing sides of the fence, like the atheist and theist. A lot of times, especially, I was looking at. You ever heard of Levitical?
Yeah. I just seen a video on him
and Bionic Dance. If you go back and forth between like Bionic Dance's comments and everyone else's comments, everybody's bad mouthing the other side so much that if you took out all references to who they were talking about, you couldn't tell which side was which.
Yeah.
And that's how people generally like see the opposite group. They're all stupid and hold irrational beliefs. It's just.
It's once there's confirmation bias at its finest. I mean, everybody's got they don't even listen to the things because what is it called? Constructive arguing rather than destructive arguing is kind of what I try to.
It works.
That's exactly what you try to do in your comments. It's easy to get carried away once in a while. It's like, fuck you, kind of like that. But
yeah, I don't think I've ever hit that point, so that's good. Hey, you have to tell Brian to join the chat. You have to order him.
I gotta order him?
Yes. I haven't talked to that guy before. I'd like to
join in, Brian. Come on in. Your mic can't be that crackly.
I can see if I can make mine crackly so you don't feel so bad. That's fine. Join in anyway. This is a non-judgmental zone.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a response video to her blog that she's got on there. To do it, I'm going to have to make it a two-part thing because I'm going to have to first get her definition for her argument for God and then break that into the burden of proof thing. I don't know if I just think those, if she really is a teacher like that, that's kind of disturbing to me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So did Steven jump back out?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Technical issues. Yeah, you should get someone else in here because it's just me. It's just gonna crash and burn and die. I'm not the most interesting person in the world here.
I really don't have a subject at hand right now. I'm good if I have something that I want to talk about. But
yeah, well, Deconverted Man's in the title. I mean, it's really his responsibility. Everything that happens is still his fault.
Yeah. Resetting, unblocking. Steven's coming. All right.
That'd be cool. I see him around everywhere.
Done a whole lot of videos lately. He's totally engulfed in video games these days, or what? Dallas, he's getting engulfed in the video games. I haven't seen him doing a whole lot of videos lately.
Who's that?
Godless Cranium.
Oh, yeah, probably. Okay, so Steven's back. How do we sound,
Can you guys
Steven?
hear me now?
Yes.
Can hear you. Yep.
Good, sweet. You guys are still really low for some reason. I don't know what's up, but I'll just hold my ear really close to the phone, I guess.
Now I'm going to yell into it.
I'm kind of sitting away from the computer a little bit, but
yeah, I don't know what's up with this. So convince Brian to come in.
We're trying.
Come on, Brian.
He's setting the mic.
Don't be a dick. Come on. I know you don't sleep.
Who wastes time sleeping?
See, the good thing about when you get old is you don't sleep anyway. So,
I don't sleep now. Well, I don't know what you define as old. My definition of old is pretty high up there, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm 42.
That's not even close.
I don't know. Sometimes I
can't-
feel like it. You guys have seen my videos. I'm that creepy mountain man.
I actually haven't seen any of your videos.
Yeah, he does a. You're out in the field then doing your stuff, right?
I do. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I'm still trying to finish up a paper. It almost got rejected because well, let's just say that I don't know if you know, but paleomagnetism people tend to have physics backgrounds, so they don't know the difference between chrono and lithostratigraphy. So that
like
paper,
I do.
well, they should know.
Yeah.
They should. So
Yeah.
I got a cabin coming up on my property in the UP, but I was trying to resubmit that paper, even though it's going to get published. So my northern trips haven't just been about shooting my guns in the cabin. They've also been about trying to finish up that paper. You guys still there?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna keep on talking.
I didn't know. I didn't know if it just went totally dead on me or what.
No, we're kind of zoned out because we were.
No, not zoned out, Johnny. You're the host. You got to keep it going.
I'm trying. I got so hypnotized by Deconverted Man that when somebody talks, I said, "Oh, let him go."
Brain scarred. Brian says it's stuck on the terms page.
Brian, come on.
You're using Chrome? I think you. And some browsers, it gets stuck. That's my experience, at least. Which is very, very little.
Yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking about my friend now. He found this one rock, and he tries to claim that it's a fossilized thing, and I said, "Well, send it in." He thought perpetual motion machines existed, so there you have that. So, but I wouldn't even know what to look for to see if it was fossilized or not.
All right, so propose a new topic, Johnny, before it falls into an abyss.
I don't know what's been. I mean, burden of proof I've seen around, and that's the only thing that I've seen. I kind of want to talk about that tonight, but I don't really care about it anymore because I just know what it is. But young Earth creationists haven't really tried to come up with anything new lately, have they?
No, but they generally resort to naturalistic occurrences and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because it's like implicitly admitting that naturalistic explanations are more powerful. When they look for that, like for the ark and stuff, they try it before appealing to God. So, I don't know. This is funny stuff. So if they find anything that fits their explanations, then they'll adopt it. Ryan Stevens is waiting on Google Hangouts to connect him.
Oh. Yeah. Unless Ken Ham says it's okay, I guess they're not gonna agree with it.
If it agrees with the Bible, I think that's specifically stated on their website. If it doesn't agree with the Bible, then it's wrong.
Yeah. Well, I guess they have to believe.
Yeah, it's actually explicitly stated. Stevens permo-muted. Did Johnny mute you?
I did not. I can't. He's not even in here, is he?
How did you mute yourself, Steven?
He's just shifting the goalposts now.
I think you have a defective hangout, Johnny.
You think so? No.
No, not really. Just blaming somebody. You have to blame somebody.
I really don't like the hangout thing because it's sort of not tied to YouTube, and it's hard to get it set up or whatever. You kind of have to go through a lot of figure this out, this connects to that, and kind of tie other things to it. I don't know. And you don't get to save the chat after it's done, unless you have some other. What was it? Side Strike Force or whatever uses that. They have the chat right up on the thing, whatever.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything specific, but I can see that being good. But sometimes, all the crap that's said in the chat, some of that should just disappear. Allows you to say whatever you want, and then it goes.
Yeah, you get trolling baggins coming in, and
yeah. But I think this is like the 4th time I've been on a hangout, so I'm still not very experienced with how this stuff works. I'm just here.
I'm not either. I'm trying to figure it out.
You're doing pretty well. People exist. Oh, it looks like he's unmuted.
Yeah, I just have to keep logging off and logging back on for some reason. I don't know what's up.
Really?
Yeah.
O'Brien is saying that his camera is blocked.
His camera's blocked. How do I use regular icon?
It should be just at the top once you. Well, I imagine there'd be a message there.
Your camera looks like it's blocked, but I think it's actually you have to unblock it to turn your camera off. Or yeah, it has to be a red square, turn it into a red square, and then it's blocked.
You see what he says? He said he doesn't have this problem on Steve's Hangouts. So it is you, Johnny. You did.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame Johnny too. I'm just gonna.
Seems sensible.
I'll write an essay about it and tell you later.
Oh, yeah. Last time I got muted, I was just telling a stupid story about how people mistake things for other things. In Northwest Indiana here, we have a lot of glacial deposits, and one of my neighbors, she found a rounded stone, which is obviously just a little glacial erratic, and she's like, "Is this a dinosaur bone? There's no or a dinosaur egg? There's no dinosaur remnants up here." And I told her, "No, it's a piece of granite," and I broke her heart. I felt bad, but whatever.
That's the one thing that I do hate about being a skeptical person is, and I feel like I'm breaking people's hearts sometimes or whatever. That's. But especially this one guy that keeps on trying to, he always comes up with things. It's like, well, what about this? That might be another reason that happens. And it's like, I don't know. It just seems like I get too carried away with it, or maybe I don't. I guess the truth is.
But some people genuinely want to know. But there's some people that no matter what you say or no matter how you explain things to them, they're just going to say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? It just doesn't end.
Yeah, blinders on and go straight forward.
I just usually reserve any discussion or argument for people who actively, engage in it or start the conversation. I know too many people who hold on to those beliefs too strongly.
Yeah.
And even people, it's gotten them through times, and people who are literally on their deathbed, and that's kind of the one thing keeping them together. I've seen that more than a couple times. So
yeah, my mom worked at the Alzheimer's unit up here in the town here, and when she said, how many people she seen fall asleep, for the last time. My mom's an atheist too, but she'd be right there praying with them, I'd be the same way, I guess,
Yeah, it kind of depends on the person. I have a couple religious friends. They're good people. I mean, they know I'm an atheist, but if they say something or God oriented or something, I just let it roll off. And
yeah,
I'm not. If you're a jerk, then fuck you.
And if you're out in the real world, it's a little different than being on YouTube because
yeah, true.
You get to be a little bit more, I don't know.
You got anonymity, and you and the other person can walk away. Say that word 5 times fast.
Anonymity. No, I can't say it once.
See, I can't say that, but I can say "mama say mama sa mama kusa." Say that.
Yeah, a lot of benefits.
Unless you're somebody on YouTube like me who uses their real name, real face, and tells everybody about them. So I probably shouldn't do that, but oh well, I don't care.
I think it takes a lot to get someone to hunt you down or try and come after you.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, and no one would ever do that. And I'm not that big of a jerk usually.
I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out. You can figure out who I am pretty easy, but I did actually start going anonymous because there was some guy that lived about 30 miles away from our hometown here, and he started going on my Facebook profile and started making weird comments. But I guess he was one of these guys that thought radio waves were controlling everybody, and they were being sent out by the people from my hometown. And he actually did threaten a couple people, so I got a little bit spooked right there. But
wow. I don't have that problem. Even though I'm in Indiana, my neighbors are actually pretty cool. But I live on a dead-end street, so we don't really have any problems here. And I just basically go to work and then spend the rest of my time either in Chicago or up north. Try to spend as little time here as possible.
well,
I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. If you guys hear, I would mute, but I might not get unmuted. So if you hear any weird noises, it's the cats. So, I'll be back in a couple minutes.
As long as they're not in the catnip.
So Brian was unsuccessful.
Don't ask how that happened.
No, Brian didn't get past the no camera issue. Oh, he's got a laptop without a camera, I bet. And that might be an issue for Hangouts, huh?
Yeah.
And I got 2 cameras. So go figure, huh?
I think I've got a super webcam thing somewhere, but like heck if I've ever used that.
I just bought a camera, so I want to see more videos, but I got a Logitech with the microphone on it. It's 612, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like with the laptop. It seems like I can't really. I have to do separate things and get it started up to actually make it work. And it's not. Hangouts doesn't want to use it, so I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, I got my laptop and just this microphone plugged into where that works for me. I've got a few different cameras. I've got a slow-mo camera and.
Slow-mo, huh?
Yeah, slow-mo. That's actually for have you seen my trailer video thing?
It's been a while, but
toward the end of it, I show like a bunch of swords and stuff in my background.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, one thing you could do, practicing martial arts like that with weapons to test your edge alignment is to cut through water bottles.
Ah, okay.
And because even with a razor sharp sword, if you hit the bottle wrong, even with like an ice mountain bottle, you'll send it flying 30 feet away without even piercing the bottle with a razor sharp sword. So it's a way of measuring whether you're doing the mechanics and maneuvers correctly or not.
Oh yeah, you can't. Pretty hard to just naked eye see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the slow-mo camera is pretty good for that.
So is that just a specialized camera for slow-mo then? So they can down?
Yeah, it's a little cheapo thing.
Yeah.
It's only like 2.5 by like 3.5 inches. A tiny thing.
Actually, I've used the slow-mo option on the camera for my pool shot breaks or whatever to.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool watching that.
You got the fast mo that you do with the
time lapse. That's how I do that.
Yeah, I've got my Paris. I've got my staff over here and my Paris size over there, so I'm equipped like you are. I've got my 3-section staff over here.
I've never used one of them too much. I've never practiced with that too much. Nunchucks, I'm really good at.
Many people hurt themselves with a 3-section staff.
I can see fingers getting pinched off in there actually.
No, I don't see that problem. I was actually showing my friends. I was hitting water bottles off my my stand with that 3-section staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those things are only like a couple pounds altogether, and I was able to knock like a milk jug full of water several feet off the stand without losing too much momentum. They didn't expect that to work. But it's kind of fun, beating things up with weapons.
When I was a kid, my dad always had a sling, David and Goliath style sling, and I learned how to make one out of rope just recently, and it was a couple years ago I learned how to do that, but I got that out. And it's kind of fun too once you start using it a little bit, because it's a sling, But I'll tell you what, just make sure there's nothing breakable behind you or in any 360-degree area.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was a lot younger, I made all kinds of different weapons, including a crossbow, which I immediately dismantled once I shot a dowel rod and impaled it into a tree. It's like, it's a little.
I didn't build the crossbow, but I had one.
Brian's still not here?
He's trying. He's setting up his laptop, his old laptop.
Oh,
the webcam.
Deconverted Man finally go to bed?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he stopped stalking the chat some time ago.
Yeah.
Crazy guy.
The cats weren't loud, were they?
No, I didn't hear him at all, actually.
Wow, they're really loud most of the time. Fortunately, my girlfriend loves them, so, you know.
I suppose you'd have to.
Yeah, they're little shitheads, though. Yeah, the one that's my avatar, he actually showed up at my last place before I bought this house, and he was just so loving and everything for being feral. He used his pussy magic, and that was it. Nah. So, yeah, they do that.
So, Brian, looks like he's just not getting the camera to work, but he might have bypassed the problem.
I don't see him in here yet.
Come on, Brian.
You can do it. You can do it.
I'm just in here watching the chat.
If I can do it, you can do it, Brian.
Yeah, you guys got to get in here and make something of this. I fail at that.
Yeah, I'm doing what I can.
Well, you're fine.
Don't tell me I suck, because I don't like that. Well,
I can tell you suck for different reasons. But I'm not going to.
You know what? You don't have to tell me because I already know. But I can build anything out of something.
Well, you can build a crossbow at least, right?
I probably could. I haven't ever really tried that. I have made a bow I have made a recurve bow before.
Oh, that was nice. I used to compete in archery when I was in high school. Now I'm too old for that shit, so I degenerated into guns.
Well, some of the archers now, with all the gadgets they have in their freaking thing, there's no way I can build something like that, though.
Oh, no, that shit's ridiculous. No, when I did it, it was longbow and recurve. That was what we used.
So Brian just said it says he's in, but he's not seeing it.
I don't see him
I
here.
don't know. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat.
He's probably like accidentally joined in Cy-10 Bruggenkate's chat or something.
The wrong hangout somehow. It also might depend on what internet browser is being used.
That's true.
But
Yeah,
for that, I have no idea.
This technology stuff is weird. It confuses me too. I'm gonna go get my tinfoil hat.
It does like to change quite a bit these days. That's for sure.
You gotta get the good quality tinfoil. The Illuminati produced tinfoil is fake tinfoil, so it doesn't work.
Oh, I thought so. God.
Yeah.
I can't remember when I started watching, but
make your own tinfoil.
But this one guy started my YouTube was on a loop thing while I was working or whatever. And all of a sudden this one guy comes on. He just keeps on going about conspiracy theories and all this crap. I just had to let it go for a while, but it was like, wow, okay. What was he talking about then?
How do you live like that? Seriously.
I have no idea. I mean, he had books and everything. He's giving a lecture in front of an audience and stuff. And I was just like, really?
Man, I couldn't. I'd never leave the house.
Well,
I'd be afraid my house was trying to kill me or was haunted or some shit.
You know, there's supposedly like a psychological or neurological reason why those people are the way they are, why they buy up all the conspiracies. Because there's very few instances where someone is like buys only one conspiracy and is doubtful of the rest, right? They usually go oftentimes full bore into it. A lot of times it's because it's basically like chasing the high that comes with
There you go.
The chemicals your brain produces, like with your eureka moments.
Like I just discovered something and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like chasing that high. So you're effectively addicted to that high of discovering things and learning things. And it's really interesting how that works. Your own brain is screwing you up.
That doesn't explain why they hang on to it, though, once they've been proven wrong, though.
Well, other psychological factors can take over after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because humans are highly resistant to changing.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian's here.
Hey.
Now we get to hear him make a noise before you get too excited.
Well, his avatar showed up at least.
Yeah, his avatar showed up.
Well, there's his face and his avatar face, and
His camera's on now.
you there, Brian?
Looks like it's going slow, like he predicted. I think he predicted.
I can't really make anything out on there.
I think the Illuminati are messing with him.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
I'm Illuminati. That's why I'm here. And you would never believe me if I told you that, so that's why I'm telling you.
You know.
Well, I'm a secret society that controls Illuminati.
No, that's not fair. So Brian's camera's moving a little bit there.
A little bit, yeah.
Almost there, Brian. You can do it.
Flying Brian Stevens. There used to be a race car driver called Flying Brian Stevens. Flying Brian Stevens.
I wonder if you could turn off the camera and see if that improves things.
Yeah, I'd turn the camera off, Steve.
Now you just make sure that mic's working. He's good.
That avatar is. I can hear you.
You can hear
Yep.
There you go.
me?
Yes.
Crackly. Well, actually,
I
not
can hear
crackly.
you.
More like
Heard that. Vomit before you come on.
How you doing, Brian?
Not too bad. I don't think. Sounds funny, but I'm lost without the live chat, and I haven't found where to turn it on at.
Yeah,
I can hear you clear now.
I usually open the live chat in a different
yeah, you got to open up
browser or tab, and then you mute it so it doesn't create an echo. Or
Yeah.
you pause it. Yeah. I see Brian all over the place in comment sections.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
You always got to earn them show
Well,
bucks somehow.
Pick up for live text or text to speech to text, so it should have improved it some. But like I said, I still cough too much.
Doesn't
should
bother
smoke
me in the
more.
slightest. I'm around a lot worse than people coughing.
Yeah. I know Steven's got a southern drawl on him.
What?
He's got a drawl.
Dude,
Me?
what, Johnny?
Hey, you got a drawl. Southern accent compared to me. I got a Minnesota accent still.
Minnesota accent's the same as Canadian and Uber.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to tell the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's half the microphone. Yeah. But yeah, probably. I'm lagging big time here.
It's all right. At least you join. We can never get Pheno 3000 to join anything.
Dallas Cranium's in the chat now.
Is he?
Oh, no, not that guy. There it goes. It's done now.
Hey, GC, how's it going?
Yeah, I can't see the chat. I'll end up getting muted again if I do. So I'm
That's
relying
okay.
on you
If
guys
anything
for
relevant
that.
comes up, I'll read it to you.
we got our
I'm going to ignore Dallas Cranium's remark.
Yeah, did you leave already? Godless Jesus. Godless Jesus.
Oh, that was kind of funny. No, he's there, Johnny.
I'm really good. Still siding a house, and I haven't done any videos for a long time, and neither of you. Well, you have, but
Did he come in right as you guys mentioned Canadian?
What's wrong with Canada?
No, it just they like summoned him. It seemed like
Probably did.
Minnesota,
Canada.
I go up there a lot too. I have family up there.
I love Canada. See?
I do too.
I'm
Although I stay
skeptical of
around
its
Lake
existence.
Superior because I'm a Lake Superior troll.
Yeah, I've been on Lake Superior a couple times. I always go up to the Boundary Waters. Up
I need to get
Grand
my
Portage.
ass to Isle Royale. I've never done that.
What's that? Where?
Isle Royale, it's actually part of the UP. It's the biggest island in Lake Superior.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I meant to do it for this last paper and I didn't go, but fortunately there was enough previous work done where I didn't need to. But if you're in Minnesota, you could get there. The ferry's real cheap from Minnesota. From Copper Harbor in the UP, it's like $400.
Oh, really? From Copper Harbor?
Yeah, 'cause my land's not that far from Copper Harbor.
Ah. Duluth.
Duluth. Yeah, been there many times too. The expressways confuse me a little bit there, but I like it. There's a lot of good Precambrian geology there and mid-continent rift geology.
Yeah. That's just a stop for me on the way up. Two Harbors is actually one of my favorite places too. And
then, Two Harbors is that about halfway between Duluth and the
Grand
border?
In Grand Portage, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where the ferry might leave from. I don't remember.
It could be. I know they got the light towers up there or whatever. That's pretty cool to check out that area.
Yeah. I think I made the mistake of driving through there during tourist season one year, though.
Oh, yeah, Godless Cranium's been playing. You have been playing that video game lately, haven't you? Destiny, is that what it's called? I haven't played video games since 2002, to be honest with you.
There's one video game I think I might play. I haven't played in forever either, but it's an independent one. It's called Long Dark. I've watched a lot of people play it, so I actually watch a lot of people play games, but I never do.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to like it, but I remember going 16, 17 hours and not realizing that it took that long in the video game and just kind of going, hey, it's just too much time. I like it, but it's too much time in my life.
Yeah, no, it really does. I used to play Command and Conquer. I don't know if you remember that game.
Oh, that's the one that I played.
Yeah, I used to love that game, and that would waste my entire life.
Yeah, because I'd run through the whole thing, and then I can't. I think it was M Player was the social network or whatever, but at the time, and I'd go on there to compete with everybody, and I was like, hell, whatever.
Yeah, no, I love that game. Yeah, I would do it. I would just play the game or make my own maps, or I would get involved with other players. But if I remember correctly, that game, wasn't that DOS-based, the first one?
Yeah, it was really hard to connect on the internet with it because you had to go through all the protocols of going into the DOS and resetting it up or whatever. I just remember it was hard to do, but it wasn't user-friendly with Windows that way to just connect. But
yeah. Is that even still around? Is that still a thing?
I think so. I think there are some newer versions of it.
So
Tiberian Sun was the other side of it with wow.
I think the last Command and Conquer I ever played was Generals.
Yeah, that's the last one that I had too.
Yeah, that's the last one I ever played.
I haven't played that in a long time. Like Red Alert.
Oh, Red Alert! I loved Red Alert.
Tiberian
I
Sun.
haven't played video games in a long time.
Yeah, Tiberian Sun. Yeah.
Oh, that's when the Grenadiers started exploding and hurting everyone around them, right?
Yeah.
Tiberian Sun.
And just the comments when you click on all the characters too are kind of funny too. You go on the anti-aircraft, you go 4 on the floor.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, they were great. I knew some of the cheat codes too. But I was all about cheat codes. If I was just playing the game with nobody else, I don't care.
I tried to make my own maps for doing duels.
Oh, I did that too, and sometimes I'd make them, and a couple of us would try to play them. But if you made the maps too complex, then it would just lock up.
Yep.
And then you just couldn't play.
Try to give the AI some commands to do certain things, and I just never worked for me.
Yeah, they're the games I played more often. More tactical games, Civilization, with people, but rather than active things like turn-based games. Seem to like that a little bit better.
Yeah, the other one that I played a lot was Lynx, golfing game.
Don't know that.
I don't remember that.
I think Arnold Palmer endorsed it.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember that one at all.
Brian said,
you still there?
he said in the chat, if load to type blacks my sound, I'm a hang. What? LOL.
Have my cake and eat
You're
it
not
too.
letting me have my cake and eat it too. Not sure what he's saying.
Is my
That's
mic
okay.
even still working?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so sound check's good.
I can hear you really good.
Damn. Spiritualism. No, that's what God was. Couldn't even read his.
Yeah, the Gallows Cranium is gone.
Poor guy.
He's not his game to play.
Hey, he's got a clan on that then, huh?
Yeah, I didn't think that would be hard. He mentioned that in one of his videos.
He got 10,000 subs. I'm sure you can find a couple people to even. I heard him advertising it or whatever to join in with him. So.
Yeah.
Isn't he really young too? So probably doesn't.
I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's on the young side. And what's young?
Yeah, I mean, 18.
Like that early 20s, 30s, 40s. I just remember being young, and I'd start, my attention would just drop off,
I don't feel old.
Oh, I do.
Oh, actually, I do, because the other day I was doing soffits on the house there, and after bending over backwards like that for a couple hours, I couldn't even hardly sit up when I sat down for a while. I was like, oh.
Oh, that's just gonna get worse.
Yeah, I know.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I can't believe all the stuff we accomplished. Me and my girlfriend accomplished this summer at this house I bought. You know, got rid of the old sheds, built a brand new one from scratch, built a deck, built a Youper pooper.
Yeah.
Man.
I saw your video.
And then I hurt for like a week. At least with the cabin, all we got to do is put up the insulation and the walls. We don't have to paint it or anything or build it. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
You ever go up to Alaska doing your stuff?
Hold on. No, I've never been to Alaska.
Huh.
I specialize in the Precambrian metasedimentary rocks, mostly Proterozoic or Mesoproterozoic. So
how far down is that layer?
What?
How far down is that layer around the planet?
How far down?
Yeah. Is it usually?
Well,
I mean, I suppose it varies.
Well, it depends on where you are. Like in the UP in southern Ontario, that stuff's at the surface. You know?
Yeah. I suppose it all depends.
Yeah, because you got geologic structures too. Like, Lake Superior's there because it's a failed rift. The glacier shaped it and carved out the sandstone, but it's there because it's a 1.1 billion year old rift that never happened.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So
I liked it. It left rocks at the bottom of Ohio. You can find Canadian shield rocks in any river in Ohio if you look.
yeah, and the glacial stuff, yeah. But I like to go to the source. So, yeah, it's sometimes the rocks are so unique. There's some formations that are so unique that if you find them in the creeks and stuff down here, you can actually identify them. So I think the Illinois State Geological Survey identified a big, huge piece from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. That means it was in the edge of the glacial area. So I think it traveled like 500 miles. And it's a really unique formation. So it had to have come from there. It couldn't have come from anywhere else.
I know in that glacial till you never, ever know what you're going to find.
Yeah, I know in Illinois, the state survey has found 6 diamonds, confirmed diamonds, in the glacial till over the years. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah, there have been 32 found in Ohio, as far as I know.
That's a lot. You know,
From
it might be
glacial
more than
till.
6 now. I haven't checked in a while. You know.
I couldn't be that lucky to find that.
I couldn't
never
find
was.
that. You know, of course, people always ask me if I find arrowheads and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I probably walked over 1 million of them in my lifetime, and I just never noticed them because I'm always looking at something else.
Growing up by my farm place, there's a lake about it's about a quarter of a mile away, but right in there must have been a camp or whatever because there's all these arrowheads right in that spot there on that one side of the lake where they had the campsite. I'm sure.
No, so do you still have any?
You know what? No, I don't. But I know I can probably find them if I go back to that campsite there around the lake.
You know, if I went with you, I'd probably walk over every single one of them.
Oh, it's all black soil around here, and yeah, you gotta wait for the frost heat usually for them.
Oh, the good thing about where
Me
I
and my brother used
UP though is that's copper country. I've already found a couple tiny copper nuggets on my property, just little ones. I need to get a metal detector.
That come out of the glacial till there in Ohio. My brother found a horn coral about 3 inches, about 2 inches around. It's agatized, but it's got such detail you can actually see the cell structure.
Yeah,
under a microscope.
Some of those agatized fossils do. I remember I co-authored a paper with a guy who asked me to send some of my collection from Graff, Iowa, that was opalized, and he actually did electron microscope, cut them open, and yeah, the structure was totally intact. It's amazing sometimes how that happens.
It's beautiful. It's kind of a orangish color overall, but it has inclusions of several what I assume to be maybe tourmaline, because it's all different colors of crystallization. It's polychromistic or polychromatic. It, the crystal varies in color along its length. So,
Yeah, tourmaline does
or
that.
not tourmaline. Yeah, tourmaline. It's been a while since I got to talk minerals with anybody.
Well, aren't you glad he came on the chat now?
Yeah. See?
Sorta.
Sorta.
I just can't load any other pages while I'm here, or it lags me out. I'm used to running.
Wait, Brian, you're in Ohio, so it's got to be, you're on Eastern time, right?
Well, I'm on Eastern time, but I'm no longer in Ohio. I'm in Florida now.
So it's like 11:30 where you are.
Yep.
Although
in
I'm
about
in Indiana,
30
I'm in the
seconds.
part that's central. So.
Yeah, I moved down here about 5 years ago. Bought a place, and wish I didn't know they didn't allow you to grid down here. It's illegal to go off the grid in Florida.
Oh.
So as it is, if a blackout, I'm not allowed to use the power from my solar cells. Isn't that stupid?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. See, that's why you got to come to Indiana. If anyone here ever told anyone here to do that, or they couldn't do that, we'd just say fuck you and do it anyway.
Yeah, my cousin moved to Indiana. He seems to like it a lot. Forget what town's river something.
Southern Indiana's nicer than Northern Indiana. Northern Indiana's like driving through the middle of Illinois. It's like all flat, But I'm actually really close to Lake Michigan. But when you've been spoiled by Lake Superior, Lake Michigan isn't anything.
I do like Superior.
It's an awesome lake.
I like any lake.
Actually, Wisconsin has more lakes than Minnesota.
Sorry about that.
Besides the glacier, Till, what is interesting to find in southern Minnesota?
In southern Minnesota?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, we got Pipestone. It's pretty interesting, but.
Well, you guys got a bit of the Sioux Quartzite comes in, but that's in the southwest. Southeast, you got a lot of the mid-continental rift sediments that filled in the rift after it failed.
Yeah.
What they call them, the red clastics over there. The last paper I did, I correlated the Jacobsville group with what they call the Bayfield in Wisconsin, but the stratigraphy breaks down in Minnesota. So I couldn't keep it going. I had to stop it at Wisconsin. So.
I always wondered what happened to all the garnet that should be in those sediments that don't seem to be. Because if you look at the glacial till, you find garnet up the wazoo, but in the sedimentaries, you don't see it so much.
Huh.
Well, some of the mid-continental rift rocks, or the sediments, have them. But the mid-continental rift isn't really rich in garnets. You usually get garnets from metamorphism. You don't. They're a metamorphic mineral. They're I forget if they're medium. They're formed from medium grade, and we don't have a lot of that up here. The UP has some. There's some in Canada, but it's just high high grade metamorphism just hasn't really happened that much out here. So there's a couple places you can get them. There's some garnet schists and like waters meet in the UP and stuff. But in the sediments, yeah, I mean the glacial till, I mean that stuff's been worked and reworked, and you know, that's just the Quaternary ice ages. There's a Paleoproterozoic ice age rocks in southern Ontario and the UP that are like 2.4 billion years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, those are pretty cool looking rocks. Those the first confirmed ice age on the planet. It's actually several, but
I get a kick out of all the other rock hunters always talking about Franklin, North Carolina, and Carolina for about 5 years, and that's the worst place to look for rocks. That's the best place to find shops that have rocks that cost 20 times what they're worth.
I've never been to the Carolinas. And as a geologist, I hate to admit this, I've also never been to the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
I've been to Colorado, and Arizona, but I've never been to the Grand Canyon.
If you ever make it to North Carolina, make sure you get to the Chunky Gal mine. It's a hell of a walk. There's no commercial mining allowed. Rubies there.
Is that where those orange colored quartz is, or no?
No, it's green zoisite with the pink and red rubies.
Oh, okay. So it's not what I was thinking of then. Okay.
I think
you basically gotta walk up and over the top of a mountain to get to it. You can find 1/8-inch rubies everywhere.
Some of the prettiest rock colors that I ever seen in rainbow colors was in Jasper, Canada. It was just, you look all around you, it's different. Every rock, every little section of the mountain, every mountain was a different color.
I've been to an agate float in Wyoming off of something called Goose Egg Road, and is like 3 feet deep. The pieces of agates go from about 1 inch to 3 inches, and they're pre-polished by the weather. Every color under the sun, and when the sun shines on that after a rain, it's just amazing. I mean, you could hours and hours and hours, and all. It's amazing.
Brian, why don't you just make some videos showing off your minerals?
Yeah.
I've been trying to talk my brother into doing that, because most.
Oh, dang, Brian, you cut out.
Yeah. You got to repeat yourself on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was me for a second.
Direction, but you look at it from the other direction, the silk is just all get a nice piece, but the stuff most it over the years in his collection, partly because he was more into collecting than I was. I just like going and finding it. I've got some rubies and some albite that's bordering on moonstone, and some labradorites and some quartzes, of course, an emerald or two. But most of my good pieces are actually sitting in his collection, so it'd be hard to do. His collection's in Ohio and I'm in Florida, but get him to do a web catalog of it.
I would watch that.
Yeah, I would too.
It's hard to find videos on YouTube of people showing their mineral collections. I thought that would be easy, but it actually isn't.
Well, the biggest thing for him would be a lot of the nicer specimens are packed because he doesn't want, don't want damage to them or anything. And since they're not on display, it would be a major task to take the photo, identify everything, close it back up, and get another one. And so in a way, I don't blame him, but I've been trying to talk him into doing it anyway. I even told him I'd come up there and help, but he's stubborn. He's into the fishing tackle stuff now.
Oh,
He's
well,
been
if it
collecting
happens,
plugs.
yeah, let me know. I'll watch it. Yeah, I got some minerals I protect too. I got some from Northwest Illinois that are huge, perfect galena crystals with beautiful calcite crystals on them from the old lead mines that are no longer open.
I've got a galena somewhere, but it's about a, I don't know, 3/8 inch cube. It was just a oddball I found somewhere.
The biggest one I got is 3 by 3 inches, and that thing is heavy. It is.
I don't doubt that. I've got a piece of can't even think of the name of the mineral now. It's a vanadium mineral, but it seems like it wouldn't weigh anywhere near what it does. So when you hand it to somebody, they get this really surprised look on their face. But it's a vanadium something silicate. But it's way heavier. It's one of them ones that's, it's about maybe 2 inches around, but it feels more like it weighs like a bowling ball weight. But one of those where you just don't expect it to be that anywhere near as heavy as it is.
Gotta love those heavy elements.
I like them because they often do extreme things like magnetism in odd ways. My favorite is still piezoelectric quartz.
Do you have any magnetite, Brian? I got some, but it's from Missouri.
I got one little crystal in and the only reason I have it is because it's in a by crystal. It's like centered in a piece of muscovite about 6 inches across, I suppose. It's really nice crystal, but it's got a piece of magnetite right in the center of it. And we thought it was pitchblende when I first found it, even though it wasn't a likely place to find it. After checking, it turned out to be just magnetite.
Just stick a magnet to it
too. So yeah, magnet will stick to it right now, but it's got a typical crystal formation for magnetite.
Nice. See, the magnetite I have it's microcrystal, and I don't have any macrocrystals. I really wish I did.
Well, it was a North Carolina find, but it was a flea market find, so it wasn't likely to be actually from North Carolina, although it's possible. A lot of times I'll look through the rocks people have at flea markets because 90% of the time they don't know what the hell it is. Piece of aquamarine about 1.5 inches long by maybe 3/4 of an inch thick with skin transparent at a flea market once. I gave it to him today, but
yeah, see, you need to make videos of this. I think we're boring everyone else talking about minerals.
No, I get my camera to work. Hey, did it?
I thought it was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was. That was really interesting.
That's a nice pool table.
I got my other camera to work. I've got to share the screen and then share the web. Oh, yeah, okay, so that's how I can do that.
There you go.
But then I have to shut it off so that it doesn't switch between. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter.
We can have 2 different windows open, can't you, Johnny?
Yeah.
And you tell to share the other application.
Yeah, yeah, you do, yeah, share by an application thing or whatever. I haven't been able to
I
get
had to load my other window to see it.
how does that work?
I really like this hangout. It's in the evening. It's not like Steve's, which are all in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I'm kind of a night owl. Ever since I was 5 years old, I'd stay up late. I was watching Kung Fu Theater or something like that at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd stay awake for that, and I think that's what started my insomnia.
Yeah, that'll be a lifetime thing there.
Yeah, I don't know. I still sleep, but I don't know. It's 2 hours a day usually, 3 hours. I'll die young, but you know what? I lived two lifetimes already.
Yeah, just by not sleeping 8 hours.
Pretty much.
I give it an A is about what I sleep.
Except for maybe if you can lucid dream, it's a waste of time.
I can't remember the last time I even had a dream.
Yeah.
I'm sure I do it, but I just don't remember them anymore.
If you want to remember them more, what you do is right when you wake up, you get in the habit, you write down exactly what you did, because then it'll trigger that memory of it. Your subconscious is always talking to you anyway, I think, and it's kind of, I don't know. That's how you kind of start remembering them. You got to sort of keep a journal of it, and it'll jog that memory, and you will start remembering it. Because otherwise, you just forget about them after the 5 minutes. If you ask it.
I should try that. Although I had the feeling my subconscious has Alzheimer's.
It's so hard for me to get in the habit of doing something like that right when you wake up, though. And you have to do it right when you wake up, and it's so hard to.
That would be hard for me too, because the second my alarm goes off, my day is ruined.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about where I'm going to be now. It's like, what did I dream about? No, I don't want to go back into that dream.
Yeah.
I can tell you this: if you eat enough pepperoni, eat a couple pepperoni subs right before you go to sleep, you'll dream.
Pepperoni. Sounds good.
What was this other thing I heard? If you wanted to try to, because I've probably experienced lucid dreaming one time in my life, you know, where I felt like I was actually in control, or I could actually do some things, even though a lot of things weren't. But you gotta look at the clock and look away and look back at the clock. In a dream, it'll always change. The time will always change. So that's how you know you're in your dream.
See, I don't remember if I've had any really lucid dreams. I probably have. When I was in my 20s, I used to get sleep paralysis, but I don't get that anymore.
I've had that 2 times. That's weird.
When I was married, my ex-wife, she saw me having one once. And that was the time I saw the spiders.
That's something. If you know what's happening, you got to remember not to panic. That's the thing that you do is you panic because you can't move. So your body's paralyzed from the chemicals that it puts into it to keep you from sleepwalking.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't sleepwalk. I know that.
Yeah, so it went away then after you got out of your 20s?
What?
It just went away then after your 20s?
It was weird, yeah. I maybe once or twice in my 30 or 31, but yeah, it just doesn't happen anymore. If it does, I don't remember it. But my sleeping patterns have changed as I've gotten older too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's got something to do with it.
I think just your body's changed too. So
yeah, and you know what always got me about it? You know, people who obviously suffer from it, and they're either think they're seeing God or they think they're seeing aliens. It's like I saw all kinds of shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought when I had paralysis. I felt like little aliens jumped on my back and did something, then took off or whatever, and then I kind of came around and came to again. And yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw everything. I mean, spiders, dark things in the corner, noises, just hearing. Sometimes you get the auditory ones without the visual.
But it's good evidence though that you've been there. You know how powerful your subconscious mind actually is. Then I mean,
Oh yeah, it can fuck you up.
Yeah, it's real. It's as real as me sitting in this chair looking at the computer right now. And yeah.
All right. Well, I think I gotta get going. So.
Oh man, come on.
I'm not really doing anything anyway, but.
That's I probably should. I actually do have to go to my shill job in the morning.
I gotta work. I gotta start siding in the morning at 8 and stop raining. So I'm gonna try and get that house done.
Oh,
so I ruined everything. Excellent.
Yeah.
Somebody had to say it. Somebody had to put the lights out part sign.
Well, could you send some of that rain this way? Because seriously, it's been a while.
Well, you can sure have it. Our driveway just run it out so damn bad here.
Yeah. It's like we got that 90, 98 degree weather right at the end of summer, at the beginning of fall, that first week.
Whew.
And it fucked everything up.
Yeah, it did.
All right. Well, good to talk to you, Steven, and you too, Brian. Thanks,
All
Johnny.
right, man.
Yeah, it's good talking to you too. Johnny, I'm going to go too, though.
Yeah, I'm going to shut her down here then. So it's good talking to all you guys. Thanks a lot for stopping in.
Oh, anytime.
All right. We'll try and do it again.
All right.
Okay.
See you, Steven.